Don't forget that this episode is sponsored by Molly Morris from M3 Virtual Accounting. Molly is my personal and business accountant, and she has helped me so much in keeping things straight, staying on top of tallying expenses, and she makes sure that I barely have to think about tax time when it comes every year. If you find yourself scrambling, or you're overwhelmed, or constantly behind, you don't need to live like this. Get in touch with Molly at m3virtualaccounting.com, set up a free consultation, and talk to her about what she can do for you.
This is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Some Spoiled, covering House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 2, Rhaenyra the Cruel. In this episode, it's the aftermath of the horrible murder of little Prince Jaehaerys, and Rhaenyra's genuinely shocked that people are accusing her. Meanwhile, Daemon is backing slowly into the shrubbery. Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm RoShawn.
So, this episode, pretty solid. I like this one.
Yeah, I did too. Everything but the very, very last 10 seconds. The episode should have ended with Eric. But you know, what can you do?
Yeah, it's, I think they're trying to sort of tie back like these two are dead because of this asshole who's over here just enjoying himself still. Like they're trying to just point out how cold this mission was, you know? But I may be rubbing that in a little bit too much just because I don't like this man.
I mean,
but,
I don't
like him.
Yeah, I don't like him. I like I said in the first episode, pretty much don't come looking at me for any sort of Allison apology. But yeah, this was a really good episode from start to finish. Even with, you know, my joke aside about the last 15 seconds, I just thought it was a really, really solid episode. It was some fucking phenomenal acting happening, and there were some moments where I laughed. We're like, I don't think you're supposed to laugh. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get into it.
So the episode opened, I had been texting RoShawn, you know, if she was going to watch it live, and she told me that she was paused on a spot where Alicent was walking down the hall because this maidservant has on green. So you mistook her for Alicent, but she's like really, really out of focus.
Yeah, she's very, I had it paused while they have her blurred.
Yeah.
So I just like, that's just where I stopped it. So I just was like, oh, it's Alicent. It was not.
And what I love about the way this is just that it opens is the blur. You can hear the chaos, but that's also sort of like, it's almost like after an explosion. When you are watching a movie where a character has just gotten like a concussion, lost their hearing temporarily, it's got that sort of feeling to it. And I think that is such a great establisher of tone for this scene, because it's after an explosion. This horrific thing just happened. The whole house was asleep. It was a palace full of people and nobody knew what was happening. And now everybody is awake and reacting and panicked and confused. And this poor maid is carrying what's clearly like the bloody sheet that this kid was on. And all of we see all of the household being like roused and shuffled out to be questioned because it has to be an inside job. Like that's everybody's assumption.
Right. And I mean, it kind of is.
Yeah. They're giving the scent of these, the I'm assuming that's also from the blankets of the crib that they're giving the dogs the scent from. Try and track them down.
Yeah, that was my assumption as well. And Helena is still wearing whatever. Like I was wanting to look back and see, like, because she gets gripped up by Cheese, and I don't know if like she took off her top coat and like, you know, if there was a scent on that.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, okay. That was another thing they touched. I had totally forgotten about that.
But yeah, that and the bedclothes from the babies, they're given to the dogs to sniff out. Where were all these people at? All these fucking guards? Like,
listen.
I mean, I still feel like we did not get adequate explanation for why there was literally not a single guard stationed anywhere.
Yeah, they're really trying to push this whole, like, it's Allison and Kristen's fault because there was only one guard and he was busy fucking. But it just doesn't feel like she walks down a considerable distance of that hall carrying her child in a panic and doesn't run into anybody.
Yeah.
It really doesn't make sense, but we're just going to let them have,
you know, there should be like guards stationed all up and down them hallways. There should be a guard outside of Helena's. Like, because Kristen he's the commander of the King's Guard, but spends all his time protecting and fucking Allison. So Helena should have her own dedicated guard, and all the other royal chambers on that floor, you would think, you know, would have their own. But you know, it's fine. It's
fine. So then we go to Aegon, who is flipping out and destroying this huge model of King's Landing that Viserys put so carefully together.
I saw somebody call it Viserys' Legacy.
Oh, no. Oh, that's good. People are smart.
People are so fucking clever. But yeah, you know, this whole episode really was like, I don't want to sound pretentious, was a meditation on grief. But it kind of was like all of these different expressions of grief that we get throughout the whole episode. And what I love too is that like it really put in stark relief the acceptable ways for men to express grief and then how women can express grief. Right?
Yes.
So you know, when Aegon is crying, it's unseemly, you know, but when he's in a rage, that is like acceptable, you know, that's acceptable grieving. He smashes this fucking thing to bits, and it made me so sad because one, all of Viserys' hard work, and then two, it was just really fucking cool.
It's a metaphor. Destroying things.
He's he's destroying all of everything that they built, and
so painstakingly.
Wasn't there another Aegon? Like, well, no, Aegon the Conqueror. I guess
there's a few of them.
There's a few of them, right?
Don't worry about
that. And then we go to Aemon, who he finds this coin as he's stalking through the hall.
I didn't get this. Did you get this?
So this is what it seems like. This coin is somehow an indication of who was here or who sent them.
Right.
But like, I don't understand why the coin did, like say Cheese and Blood had dropped some of their payment that they got from Daemon, which I think, you know, those motherfuckers is not just dropping money, but say that's what happened, right? Wouldn't all the money be the same? Like, why would Daemon, like, Rhaenyra hasn't had new coins pressed up this fucking fast. Aren't they just also using the dragons or whatever the gold of the realm is called? Like, why would Daemon be paying them in a currency that is particular or specific to to them. So I don't know,
because like we did have like old money in the do you remember the sort of frame up job that Viserys did of the Tyrells when he disappears and they search his room and they find her really carefully and they find a coin that's got like the Tyrell sigil on it. And it's supposed to have been basically like out of circulation. And I am wondering if they still use it here because this is considerably before the events of that. So maybe they do still use money that is specific to each of their like kingdoms. And that is because I had noticed he's using this money to represent the different houses and properties on the map when they're doing their like battle plan together. Yeah. And I was sort of like, how is it just because I'm used to them being little figurines or something. Mm-hmm. And it was weird to me when I saw that they were all coins, and I'm assuming that's what's going on, that they're still using that old money system. Okay. I'm going to look at what's the symbol on it. It's a sun.
Sun. Yeah.
So that's Dorne? That has a spear through it, though. Does this one have a spear through it? I can't tell.
I wonder if Damon's got money from when him and Lena were... Her name was Lena, right? When they were living abroad. Where were they? In Pentos or whatever? In season one? Maybe he paid him with money from there. I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know. I don't even know for sure if this coin is like different from the coins that, that they were using. But I mean,
maybe it's not about the money, like the picture on it. It feels like it is from the way it's filmed, but I could also see it just being sort of him realizing something's different and then noticing that all of the coins are gone. And being like, did I put them away? And then he finds one. And he's like, okay, no, somebody was in this room because it got stolen. And
that's good. That's good because he tells the lady at the brothel they sent them to come kill me. And this would be proof that they were in Aemon's chambers looking for him because all the coins him and Kristen were using are gone except the one that dropped on the floor. I think that's it, lady.
I think it feels because of how it's filmed with the like real slow bring into focus of the imprint on the coin that it's supposed to be that's the thing, but I just don't really see how that works. So I'm interested to hear if anybody listening has their theory. Let me know what you think.
I think that's it, though. I think you're right. I think it's how Aemon knows that the murderers were sent specific that they were looking for him because they were all up in his room. In his chambers. I like that. I like it, and I'm going to go with that.
All right. So then we go to Otto with Alicent, and he is telling her what they are doing to find this person, reassuring her that they are going to get caught. And Alicent does some really stellar acting here when she says, yeah, but what they did to my girl. And she does that, like, repetitive when you're trying to say a sentence and you're also like sucking in breath from sobbing, and so you're saying the same word over and over, and it just hit me really hard. It felt very real.
Just about everybody's performance in this episode was so good. Otto is like the least comforting.
Like, this man tells his daughter later, I do not wish to hear it. And, we've been knowing that already, but it's one thing to know that, and it's another thing to hear a father say that to his daughter.
Just and we'll get to that. When we get to that scene, I guess we'll really talk, because I have very mixed, interpretations of, possible interpretations of that scene. But this scene here, him trying to put his arms on her shoulders, and she kind of shrugs him off. just
she's like, we both know we don't have this relationship.
Yeah, right. It's so sad that like they don't know how to comfort each other in this moment. And then we see that play out later on where she is completely incapable, Allison, I mean, of comforting either of her children, none of her children, to the point where one of them has to go to the brothel for comfort. Because, and I feel like that tells us so much that we didn't really get to see, like the way, the relationships that Allison has with her children, like that they don't feel like she's one that they can really go to for this. When she has a scene with Helena, like I got so mad at Alice. I was so angry, but we'll get there. So Aegon, then we go to like the council room and he is rightfully calling for blood.
Yeah. Yep.
Where were you?
Otto is like, but we can do something with this. This actually plays right into our hands. They did this monstrous thing. We can leverage it and get everybody to see the kind of person that Rhaenyra is to have sanctioned this. Mm-hmm. It's actually kind of like she gave us a boon in a way, you know, not like he's saying it was a good thing, but we can spin it. Clearly feeling,
we can spin this. Aegon is like, where the fuck were you? Which is a legitimate question. And Kristen is like, I was abed, sir. And then Aegon just starts like, you know, you should have been safe keeping my family. Where the fuck was everybody? And Otto is like, this is not the time for accusations.
It literally is, though.
This is the exact time for accusation.
Mm-hmm. Like, when is then, sir? I wanted somebody to just ask that. No. Just like, okay, then when?
And then somebody is like, we're going to find out who did this. And Aegon is like, who did it? The way he stutters that line out, I fucking choked. I choked. Like, why are you playing in my face?
Oh my god!
And
I'm really feeling Aegon this season.
I mean, like, who would have thunk it?
I know.
Who would have thunk it? But he has just given us. He has given us a performance, and he is some of his reactions are like the throne scene and with the small folk coming to petition is is unmatched, right? Like they're not going to top that this season, I don't think. But when he's having his meltdown here in the small council, and like I feel like he is saying, I need somebody in here to match my energy. Why aren't y'all matching my energy? Mm-hmm. Which, while I am forever Team Black, again, this is how a father should be reacting in this moment. And he is getting a lot of, you know, calm down. They're there, you know, and then fucking Laris shows up. And it was looking like your boys, Blood and Cheese, had got away with the skedaddle.
It was. I was genuinely shocked that, like, it seemed like I was like, how
you texted me? You were like, how the fuck did they get away?
Yeah.
Then turns out they did not get away.
Didn't.
Have you ever seen?
Caught one, and then they later, it turns out, have caught.
Yeah,
both, but not with precision.
Exactly, not with precision. I have not seen somebody fold that fast since fucking Kristen Cole admitted that he fucked Rhaenyra in the first season.
I loved it so much. This is exactly how I would be. All you got to do is drop something on a table that sounds like a bunch of metal tools are in it. Done. I'll tell you anything. Don't need those. It's fine. Absolutely willing to cooperate. Please put that away.
I mean...
No. Anybody out there who has like secrets and you don't want me under torture to tell them, just don't tell me them then, because I will immediately narc on you if it means that I get to keep my fingernails. I don't care.
Exactly.
Like, care.
Because he knows he's a dead man. Right? So it's not about he's not like snitching to save his life. He is snitching to avoid torture before death. Right. And you know what? Valid.
Yep.
Valid. Just go ahead and take my fucking head, please. Turns out it didn't actually go that way.
You guys, that was such a baller line. Like Laris tries a lot to do sort of mic deliveries. And in my opinion, he doesn't really hit that often because he feels so self-serious with his fucking scheming in the corner.
Very mustache twirly.
Yeah. But I gotta say, the delivery of like, I cannot say the same for his grace. As he steps aside, I was like, oh shit. Like it was just a really good... Yeah. It was a moment that I should have seen coming. If we've got a guy who's confessed, of course you're going to be like, come with me, King. Because that's how you gain this kid's trust, Aegon's trust. Mm-hmm. Be like, yeah, here's a fucking child murderer for you to play with. Like, he murdered your child specifically, even better.
Yep.
You got him for me. Everybody else was telling me to calm down and we'd eventually find who did it. And meanwhile, you have him like on ice, ready to go.
Right there waiting for me. Mm-hmm. I do want to mention one last thing about the council meeting. Fucking Aegon is like, it makes me look weak, having the funeral procession and the public thing and all that. And Otto is like, you already look weak. A hasty coronation. Sir, that was your plan.
I think it was just sort of like, we had no other option, but it just looks the way it looks. But yeah.
A dragon escaping the pit. Also, I mean, while not necessarily your fault explicitly, like, y'all could have let Rhaenys just fly home. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Otto. I'm just saying.
I couldn't believe how Otto just lets himself say shit this time. Like,
oh my God.
Speaking to what you were saying about like everybody handling grief differently, he is trying to like handle this, and this kid is just ruining it. And so his method of coping, which is the planning, he's the guy who would set the funeral up.
Yep. Yep. He literally is the guy who sets the funeral up in this episode.
Yes, true. Yeah. He's just being like cock blocked on his method of coping.
Yeah, like it's
finally loses his mind over it a little.
Yeah, try to the attempt to regain control because things are spiraling, and so his go to is, all right, I got to get everything back under control, and that's how he is managing his grief. And then he has a little blow up in the when he's like, "Let no one say I do not grieve," and he says, "That was my grandson." Was it?
I mean,
but
wasn't it?
Well,
what do you mean?
It's technically his great grandson. Aegon is his grandson. Jaehaerys was his great grandson, but I guess they don't do that in Westeros. Like, it's just like.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't even notice that he missed the other great, but you're right.
I just only know because I watched with the ye old closed captions.
Hey.
And I missed it the first time when I watched it Sunday night, but I did a rewatch today, and I was like, what? And then I saw other people talking about it too, and I was like, okay, I'm not crazy. But yes, and when he says, "Let no one say I do not grieve," I believe him. Like, but it's just not being performed in the ways that we've been told, what we expect grief to look like,
Right, yeah.
And then Aegon declares war. I keep forgetting that war has not been officially declared yet. I feel like they already declared war.
I really thought
last season. I thought we already understood that that's what was happening here. But I guess until someone has to scream, "I declare war," like Aegon does, it's not real.
I declare bankruptcy. You just gotta say it out loud. Oh God! But yeah, you're right. Aegon we gotta. I can't just like hang around and talk about everybody. All right, let's talk about the next scene, which I believe we cut right into like the Alicent telling Helaena.
Yeah, it goes.
That we're going to be going out in public and doing our grief for the consumption of others.
Yep. I want to go on record as saying that I was blown away by this actress's performance in this episode, especially because it didn't land for me at the end of episode 1. You know, like I was just like, I wasn't sure what she was doing and like her emotion, and maybe because she wasn't performing the kind of hysterics that I would have expected in that moment, it didn't land for me. But I thought she fucking killed it in this episode. I was so like, when they're later in the carriage, like I wanted to crawl out of my skin. I felt it so intensely. But this moment with Alicent trying to explain to Helaena about their duty, and Helena's like, I don't want them to be any closer. I don't know them.
It's giving Katniss Everdeen. Just like, this is my private shit. Get the camera out of my fucking face.
A little bit. And that's what it is, right? They want her to cry for the cameras. And exploit, because that's what it is. That's what Otto is doing. Otto is exploiting this horrific thing that has happened to this family for political gain, and exploiting the grief of his daughter and granddaughter for public consumption, like you said. And when Helaena says, you know, why, and Alicent starts talking about duty, which is a word I can't.
I know. You really need to come up with a different pronunciation for it.
Her obligations.
There you go. That's it.
Because, like, we're both 12.
Girl. There's a book series I'm covering, and everything is very, very serious and dire. But the bad guys, like henchmen, are called bone riders.
Oh no!
I absolutely cannot say that.
Unacceptable.
It's just too funny.
Unacceptable.
I understand the thought of why it would be scary, but it isn't scary. It's just very funny to me.
Hey, are you recording on Zencaster?
Yes.
Cool.
Did your GarageBand stop?
Yeah, it just shit the bed.
Boo.
Boo indeed. Boo.
What's the point of it anyway?
I mean, and then Alicent says, "Oh, you were talking about a book series." I'm sorry.
Oh no, I just Bone Riders. I was laughing because you were saying duty and then
gotcha.
Yourself.
All right, yeah. Have you come up with something other than Bone Riders for this series you're covering? Because surely you can't
I'm just
be going with
it, and I'm laughing every time.
Every time.
Mm-hmm.
I love that for you.
I'm sure the people who commissioned this are deeply frustrated with it, and I'm so sorry, but I am what I am, and you paid money for me, and that's what you're getting.
So after telling Helaena you have to make a spectacle of your grief for political reasons, let's now make it all about me. S tries to talk to Helaena what you saw last night when you came to my room, and Helaena is like, no, just no. She did that gif that it's like a gif / meme. It's Bugs Bunny, and like the lips are being twisted, like so that you can't speak.
Oh,
or maybe it's
yeah, I know the one you mean.
That she just we're not no. But I can't believe Alicent really thought like this was the moment for this conversation. I don't want to, like, if Alicent is just going to spiral, which is clear, right? Like, she is wallowing in guilt. She was already wallowing in guilt from her interactions, her liaisons with Cole. But then to now know that you were fucking the man who should have been protecting your family, and then while you were fucking the man that should have been protecting your family, your grandchild was slaughtered in their sleep.
Yeah.
So now this is like an extra sprinkling of guilt on top of the guilt sundae she was already enjoying.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the episode, she lands right back in bed with him. So she hasn't learned a single thing. But, right? So, like, I'm curious, like, if she's going to do the thing where the more of a degenerate she becomes in private, the more, like, self-righteous she's going to be in public. You know, I'm very curious. Or it could go the other way where she will start to, because right now she's like completely decked out in like symbols of the seven, right? With her little 7-pointed star that she wears, and she's like embroidered on her gown, and like it's her whole jam. I'm wondering if she'll either lean into it or will she begin to discard it. Like, I'm very curious, like, for like aesthetically, like which way she's going to go. I haven't decided yet. I don't have a theory yet, but I'm very curious about it.
My theory is that she isn't going to become self-righteous because we're doing that with Kristen. We're getting to see like two different types of person and the way that they cope with guilt and how that plays out. And Kristen is doing the attack version. And I feel like she's doing the retreat. And so it's like fucking him at the end is her hiding still from everything and like being with the only person who understands why she's feeling this way, because nobody else wants to know. The one person she tried to tell literally said, keep that shit to yourself. So I think it's just finding like commiseration with somebody else who understands this horrific thing that they now have to live with, you know?
What is that line that Allison says about Kristen at one point where she's like, he needs absolution, he's going to crack or something?
I don't remember.
I mean,
Who's she talking to?
We'll get to it. I can't remember exactly when. I think she's talking to him when he says something like, what do you think I am? Or who do you think I am? Or what do you think I want? Or something. And she's like, absolution.
Oh, yes. Okay, I do remember that.
Yeah. So, the crack part, I don't think she says. I think that was me being like, yeah, you know he's going to crack. Because what did he do when you first met him, Allison? He couldn't fucking wait to confess his crimes.
It's true.
So, if I were her, I'd be a little worried about him. Maybe that's another reason why to keep fucking him.
Yeah.
Because
we're getting ahead of ourselves. We got to talk about this, the funeral procession.
Oh, yeah. Okay. This
I didn't realize that the cart, like that the baby is like on the very, very top, but I thought he was inside it. Like that was a very ornamented coffin.
Oh, yeah.
So at first I was sort of like, he made it really sound like everybody's going to see what she did. And I thought he meant literally, and I guess he didn't. But it turns out he definitely did. It's just the angle of the camera at first.
The way I thought this baby was going to roll right out of this thing, or worse, just the head was going to roll out. I sat prepared to watch this body drop the entire scene. I was so sure it was coming in any second. And I have never wanted anything less than what I thought was coming. I'm so glad they were. And I suspect there was a moment in the writer's room where they were like, should we do it? Should we do it? And then somebody was like, no, let's not cross that line, but let's get real close to it. I think they did that shit on purpose.
I was thinking the exact same thing, that they were like, all right, actually doing it would be in kind of bad taste. We didn't show the child's murder. We're not going to show him beheaded, like with his head rolling around on the ground. But we do want people to be tense throughout all of this, and what better way than for just something horrible, especially right in front of his mother.
Yep. And as they're going down the street, there's just like throngs of small folk, and they're all mourning, and they've got like these two town crier dudes that are besmirching my good queen's name in these streets, talking about, look at what Rhaenyra did. She's a monster. Rhaenyra the cruel. And people are tossing, I'm hoping that they're petals. But
I was trying to see what they were, and I couldn't tell. I think it may be like a chaff from wheat.
I think that's closer to what it was than actual like flower petals. They definitely weren't petals, but they were. I was like, it's not dirt. It can't be dirt.
It's not dirt.
So, there's this beautiful moment of Helena, like kind of in slow motion, just looking at all of it floating down on her. Mm-hmm. And people are like reaching, and she begins to have a visceral panic attack.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, like I was watching and I wanted to come out of my own skin. It was so like to be anywhere doing anything other than being here doing this, you know, like just wanted to like get away from all of it and being sort of forced to go through this this fucking performance, you know, instead of being left alone to her grief.
Yeah. And then the like cart gets stuck at one point, so they're really able to like crowd around and get almost like physically assault her, you know, which considering the way that things have gone down in King's Landing at other times isn't out of the question.
Exactly. I was going to say like OG Game of Thrones would have had that head rolling. It would have been rolling right down the road. And they do this scene where they intercut it with what's going on with blood in the cell. So you have like Aegon's grief and then Helena's, you know, like cutting back and forth of what they're both doing in this moment. And you had asked a really good question when we were texting about why is because Otto says, you know, we'll have Alicent and Helena, but obviously we'll spare the king. And you were like, why would we spare the king? And I said, probably because they think that, you know, he would appear weak because he wouldn't be able to, like, he's so, like Otto is saying he's so out of control in this moment. We can't trust him for this public performance. And, you know,
I think you're right.
And if he were to break down and cry and lose his, you know, like it wouldn't be the image that Otto is trying to present to the world. Which is really fucked up because you're telling a father you don't get to grieve publicly for your child. Yeah. So what else am I supposed to do? Oh, there's somebody's head I can bash in? Okay.
Healthy.
Right?
Cool.
I will do that instead. Oh my God. Then we cut to the confession. I cannot get over how fast it happened.
It's like, yeah. But I'm standing by my delight in this because I just really appreciate that we're finally having a, like, it's not a torture session. Surprise, it is, but like not in the way you thought. Not in a gratuitous, like, there's just, you know, talking about sort of OG Thrones, if we're going with that tone, the salacious quality, I don't know if that's the word I want, but of showing gratuitous. The scene is something that I think it's more than just like, because I think of gratuitous as meaning it didn't need to be there. Why did you do this? And what I'm meaning is more like the sort of tawdry drama and appeal of showing a torture scene. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. They're definitely showing more restraint than OG Thrones ever did.
Yeah. And I have always said that I would crack right away, but nobody ever shows them cracking right away. It always has to be this like process and, oh, he was tough. He was loyal to his friends or whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, but what about people like me? Who are just like, we're not about pain. I'm so sorry. But when it's me versus pain, I'm going to pick me.
Listen, I am the inflictor of pain, not the receiver.
I am the one who knocks, says RoShawn. Okay, so then we go to Rhaenyra getting the news. I am so relieved because, like, initially, the way this was being played, I was like, am I supposed to believe that she hasn't put two and two together about what's happening here? And then we very quickly get a scene of her confronting Damon. And I was like, oh, thank God, because I was not going to be buying that at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, they are laying this at her door, and there's like some real, are you kidding me at first? And then it's like she's putting it together in her head and going, oh.
Damon's face the whole time when she is just like, well, this is a lie. Like, of course I would never do anything. And she says specifically not to Helena. Like, not only would I never do it, but I would absolutely never do something like that to Helena. And Damon...
And to an innocent.
Right. Oh, that's important too. And Damon is just like, that is a wonderful tapestry up there in the corner. I don't know how I've never noticed that before. Look at
colors are really arresting. Have you ever noticed this?
Fine workmanship. And then the camera cuts to Rhaenys, and she is looking Damon dead in his face, and he catches her eye and just gives her this look, and it's just like, yeah, buddy, we know.
Mm-hmm.
We are aware, sir.
I'm not even sure how much he wanted it to be a secret that he did this.
I don't think it necessarily about it being a secret. He also looks Rhaenyra dead in the face too at one point when they're all at the small council. But just the way he's sitting there, kind of like, I have no idea what any of this is about. This is all what a baby. Somebody snuck in.
Thoughts and prayers.
And then, so when she confronts him, he denies it.
Mm-hmm.
Which I was surprised that he even bothered denying it.
Honestly, same. I really felt like, bruh, we all know who you are. And she knows more than most.
Mm-hmm.
And then she actually says that to him. And I was so proud of her. She just straight up says, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
To his face.
Yeah.
I was so proud.
And he's doing this thing, guys. And we had a conversation about this in episode 1, where what were his instructions? Right? And they don't show us on screen when they blood and cheese ass if we can't find Aemon, what do we do? And so Rhaenyra is asking him explicitly, what did you tell them to do? Because first he's just like, I sent the queen's justice for, the queen had a right to vengeance or whatever. I sent the queen's vengeance, I think is what he says. And she's like, no. What did you do? Mm-hmm. And he says, I got names. I did a little subterfuge, sent them to kill Aemon. And was going to be like, that's my whole story. And she has to come back again. And what were they to do if they couldn't find Aemon? And he is like, I never told them to kill the baby. And as viewers, we're all in agreement, because me and you talked, and you said you're fairly certain, if not positive, that he said, get whoever you can get, whatever son you can get.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure.
And he is he's a liar who lies. Right? We're just want to make sure we're all on the same page here.
I fully think he's lying. I think that he misjudged what she was willing to tolerate and thought that this was going to come across as a really bold move and didn't see how disgusted she was going to be coming. And so now he's trying to suddenly backpedal, even though it's all over your face, my guy. That's nobody snitches on him. He's just sitting there looking so smug it's impossible to miss. That's the only reason that she knows is looking at the fucking smirk on his face.
Yeah. Because he's not at best, he's embarrassed right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. There's not really remorse.
Yes.
But he's embarrassed because this blew up. Now, Damon, I would have wanted him to be a little bit more cognizant of what this would look like. And the sneaking into the castle in the dead of night and decapitating an infant. That does
Right.
not make your queen look strong. You have she says, you've weakened my claim. You made me look like a monster. And he's just, you know what, Damon? This is why Viserys did not name you heir.
This is it.
This is exactly why.
Mm-hmm.
Because of shit like this. You don't think. And Rhaenyra really reads him the riot act in the scene. You've always just been about yourself. You've always just been anything for glory, anything to make yourself feel bigger, appear bigger, whatever. And she even accuses him of not accuses him, but she's like, this is why you didn't get the throne.
Yeah.
And he has a reaction. What did you text me? He just punched the drywall.
Yep. Yeah, she really hit a nerve on that one. Because basically her assertion here, which is entirely correct, is that he keeps trying to frame everything he does as if it's for her, when it's perfectly clear it's because he has a fucking chip on his shoulder. Mm-hmm. And he is trying to right a wrong that he perceives to have been done to him.
Yep.
Even though everybody else can see why he was kept from, and his reaction here is another great example. And it's really transparent, and he seems to think that he's somehow all of this is him proving himself loyal to her, and she's like, it's the opposite, actually. Mm-hmm. You're proving to me how angry you still are about your wrongs, that you can't restrain yourself when it's of benefit to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And she says to him at one point, because he's basically he's like, how dare you question my loyalty, didn't I, who put the crown on your head, it was me. And she's like, yeah, but what were you doing when I was laboring, our dead child? Mm-hmm. What were you were too busy trying to fucking lead a war council to be upstairs with me, where you should have fucking been. And she has this line where she's like, when I was a teenager, I basically when I was a young girl, I fell for this act. And I thought it was exciting,
Yes.
But she says, I'm older now and I have plenty of challenges. Because she's like,
when I was younger, I saw it as a challenge. And now I got challenges enough and I'm good.
Listen, if that
really
is not... right? And if that is just not the fucking mantra of every woman when she gets to her late 20s, and dudes are still you finally stop falling for that okie doke that you used to fall for when you were 21 or 19 or whatever, and you start to see the bullshit for what it is.
And then the guys around you are getting shocked Pikachu face because you were just hung up on them or not called back before and they don't know what to make of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh.
But yeah, this whole scene between the two of them and the way that she really goes for the jugular about his bitterness. Mm-hmm. It really, I texted RoShawn, this is giving Succession. If any of you have watched that show, there is a fight in the final season, I think it's third to last, where these people, it's one of the best arguments ever written, in my opinion, because both of these people are correct and know each other so well that they are able to really hurt each other in a way that is so specific to when that contempt sets in from familiarity.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And you can only hurt someone in those ways when you have that sort of intimacy and you have that kind of time under your belt together. Mm-hmm. You can't be, a stranger can hit with some insults that might sting, but somebody that knows you. Yeah. They're just going to fucking devastate you. And she says another really good line, where she says, God damn it. Where is it? I'm trying to get to it. I think my fast forward is keeps skipping.
Oh, it's stuck.
Yeah. But, well, when we get to it, I'll say it.
Okay. Is it in this conversation?
Yeah. She says, I think it's right after she says, I've never really trusted you, but now I see that your heart belongs only to you. And that's before she talks about it being a challenge. I think it's.
Yeah, he tries to call her father a coward and says, like, he knew I was stronger than him and he was afraid of it. And she's very, like her expression here is, wow, could you have misread him more? Like, just truly, that's what you think? And he's like, he was afraid to be seen in my shadow. And she's like, you didn't understand him at all. Yeah. And he says to her, do you believe he made you heir because of your great wisdom, because of your virtue? Or did he merely use you as a tool to put me in my place? Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so insulting.
Yeah.
I don't like.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing she says to him that I was talking about when she says that you just grasped onto me to indulge the darkness you keep sheathed within like a blade. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is some nasty work. This is that like you said, like that Succession fight. And she tells him, I don't know who you are.
This is what I live for. I love it.
Yeah, I don't know who you are or who you serve. And he's saying, it's you. Aren't I going to Harrenhal for you? And she's just like, you know what? No. Do you accept me as your queen and ruler? Like, do you, sir? Because you're out here acting like you're the king. And
he really pauses when she asks him.
Sure does. Sure does. It doesn't really answer it because she keeps talking, and this is when she says you lost it, because you thought of your own glory, and that's when he talks about Viserys knowing that he was the stronger man all this time, and Viserys was afraid to be in Daemon's shadow. Yeah,
it's really interesting how much both he and Aegon misunderstand what Viserys was about. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to say he was a perfect ruler, but he had some fucking sense.
Yeah, it was wild to see later on Otto when he's dressing down Aegon and Christian, and he starts remarking on the virtues of Viserys, and all I could think is just like, it was weird coming from Otto because it wasn't that Otto was plotting against Viserys as king, but he was plotting against Viserys' wishes as king, True. So he wasn't trying to get Viserys off the throne to install somebody in his stead, but he was so convinced that Viserys had made the wrong choice once Alicent had kids and had Aegon, that he just had his own agenda. But yet Otto doesn't seem like those two things are in conflict, Yeah,
yeah.
It's very strange.
Yeah, that's true. I don't and maybe he doesn't even really know how he feels about some of it. Because sometimes you'll be like, I didn't even like that person, but you're just stomping all over them, saying shit that's just straight up wrong. And I feel compelled to defend them, even though I didn't even really fuck with them like that when they were alive. That was not the relationship we had. You're putting me in this weird position now where I'm feeling kind of pissed off at you insulting them. It's like a generational sort of thing, where we're trying to change up everything. For why? I knew what I was doing. Everything's the same. Let's just keep doing the thing that made me very happy and wealthy and powerful. Okay, so I just love this fight so much.
Yeah, it ends with her just calling him pathetic. And she's like, it sits down, like there's like nothing else to say. And he storms out and passes his daughter in the hallway and just straight up ignores her, which is just like how his style of parenting is, I guess.
Yep. Which makes the conversation with Mysaria later even better. Because she describes the way he just fucking took off, and it's so familiar. Like, it's just like, wow, yeah, there's a pattern there that I just hoped wouldn't happen with me because I was special, and that's always the way we always think.
There's a conversation she has with Bela about like being on guard around the castle, and it's actually kind of a sweet moment considering that it comes like a nanosecond after her own father just ignores her.
Yeah,
and then we have Rhaenyra kind of not only talking to her but giving her responsibility and saying, "I depend on you," and trusting her with something that she can't trust Daemon with.
Okay. I'm gonna jump over to Kristen, unfortunately. There's first Helena, who is walking through the palace, and she comes across Aegon, and there is they're like strangers to each other. He just stops, looks at her like he's going to say something, and then immediately pulls away and continues on at a faster clip.
Yep.
She clearly had expected him to speak, and she does this sort of like nod to herself when he doesn't. Like not that she expected it, but that she should have expected it. Kind of was like the way that I took it.
Yeah, she was.
You know what I mean?
It was kind of like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, what do you think about this moment that because his face, like, so we have this happening right after Daemon does the walk past his own daughter because he's all in his feelings, right, and can't think about anybody else because he's only thinking about himself, and he has a very particular look on his face. He's got the Daemon look on his face. What did you think about Aegon and the moment? What do you think that is? Why he's not?
I think it's him not knowing how to talk to her. Like, they clearly have always had a barrier between them with the way that they communicate. And he has never put in the effort to try and sort of understand her and the way that she thinks from what we have seen.
Yeah.
So my assumption is like, while he does feel a need to like be around somebody whose grief is as strong as his own because he's feeling like very alone right now, the way that she manifests her grief is not something that he gets, and he doesn't want to bother right now. Like it's the sort of thing where I might be willing to put this effort in if I weren't feeling so much myself,
Yeah. There's
I just think he's just like overwhelmed.
Yeah, there's an awkwardness to their interaction, where it's like, not only does he not know what to say, but I personally think that there's also, a certain amount of shame, like, because he's king and he's protector of the realm, and you couldn't even protect your own family. And, how do I explain to this woman who's my sister, but also my wife and the mother of my children, that I've failed in such spectacular fashion? I'm not saying that it's Aegon's fault, guys, that this happened.
No, nobody's thinking that.
But just like the sort of, the responsibility, like that he failed in his responsibility to, the word I'm dancing around.
I can hear the taps.
And because of that, shame is another layer on top of the awkwardness between them. The fact that they don't really know how to talk to each other, they never have. Their whole union was forced upon them, and there's never been any sort of like husbandly wife dynamic that we've ever witnessed.
Yeah.
If they didn't have kids, I would be like, he never even fucked her. Did you know that there's Austin shared in a group a clip of the actors that play Aegon and Helena, and I only watched a little bit of it, but there's a whole, like, I don't know if it's a ship, or I don't think it's a ship. I think it's like more like a fan theory that Aemond is actually the father of Helena's children.
Oh.
Right?
No.
Yeah, and they call the reason I confuse it with ship is because they call it Helaman.
Oh boy.
But apparently that's a thing that exists out in the world that those are actually Aemon's children. I don't think that's true.
No, I don't really. I haven't seen much of a relationship between him and her either.
No, there's just the there's just the throwaway line from when they were children when he's like, when Aegon finds out he has to marry her, Aemon is like, I would do it because that's what's expected of me. So basically quit your bitching. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that they even said in the clip that some fans claimed that they heard the kids call Aemon dad at one point.
Oh, come on.
But I'm just like, I don't.
Nobody is telling their children this.
I don't think that that's a thing.
Calm down.
So then we go to fucking Cole, and yeah.
This is the worst.
This is the worst. This is just, you guys, this amount of projection is, we have a cutaway scene too in between to Rhaenyra playing with her kids with Daemon. I like the way that they kept doing this, sort of cutting back and forth between Dragonstone and King's Landing.
Yeah. Sometimes it can feel really like too choppy, but I feel like in this episode it works really well.
Yeah.
The timing is done well.
Yeah, they're doing sort of like a kind of like a parallel thing. So in this cutaway before Kristen really lays into Eric, or Arik, I know Eric is with Rhaenyra and the other one is with in King's Landing. But before that happens, we have Rhaenyra with her babies and she's staring out and there's all like those dust motes and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's supposed to kind of tie into whatever they were throwing when Helena was going through her through the town.
Interesting. Okay, yeah.
That was my takeaway from it. But anyway, but yeah. Oh my God, we don't even go back to Kristen Cole after that. You want to just talk about Cole's moment? Because chronologically,
I don't even want to watch it again, frankly. I don't want to see it on my screen right now. I'm so used to it. This man is just so shameless that it's yet shameful. He is somebody who is full of shame, and he should be, but he is doing it wrong. He's doing shame wrong.
He's doing shame wrong.
There's a way to do it and there's a way not to do it, and he's doing it the way not to do it. But yeah, I don't know why he picks Eric. Do you know why he decides like this is the guy I'm going to go in on?
Yeah.
Because
he needs him to do the plan and he needs to get him, like corner him to be like, how you can make it up? Because you're a Kingsguard. You don't fucking go on assassin missions. You took an oath and that's not part of it. Like they're just being really fucking Christians being really fucking loosey-goosey with the rules of what it is to be a Kingsguard and especially a commander of the Kingsguard. So he needs to get Eric like in a corner to where it's like, you've shamed us so badly that you're going to break your oath in order to redeem yourself because that's how badly you fucked up. So that's what I think that all that is. That's why he goes right to him.
Interesting. Okay. Do you think that Kristen had this plan in place in his mind already, or that he just sort of like saw this guy, had been trying to figure out how he could make up for it, and was like, oh, perfect. I'll do it. This is like a plan that just hits him in the moment.
That's a good question. I think because this the scene right before the scene with Eric is, I think, the scene with Alicent when she says, you know, you seek absolution, and he goes, "There's none for what I've done." Mm-hmm. I think that starts him to thinking about like what he can do. Like, all right, you know, what kind of plan I can come up with. And then the next time we see him is him, you know, going to town on the twin. Going to town sounds dirty. I didn't mean it that way.
That seems not to the end. What do you mean?
This was so, I wrote in the text chat, I was like, this gaslighting is low-key triggering. Like, yes. Fucking, like, every bad thing that Kristen has done, all the accusations that he has against himself in his own brain, he just vomits all over this poor guy. Mm-hmm. And it is a real shame, because even though I'm Team Eric, because Eric is Team Black, I don't think that, is it Arik? I don't know how Arik. I don't think he deserves this. And then to send him in to potentially end up having to fight his brother, which Kristen is like, you'll get in and you'll get out, hopefully. But like it's so fucking cruel. Mm-hmm. And because of how cruel it is, and how Kristen has this whole song and dance ready as for why he has to do this, I think he came out with this plan
beforehand.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. I was just sort of like, in the moment, it sort of felt like he looked at him and then a light bulb went off. I'm like, this is how I'll make myself feel better, you know?
Yeah. And it's very possible. I mean, that the way it plays, because he starts to walk away, because he comes to Eric and he's like, "What's up with your cloak, dude?" Mm-hmm. And then it just like,
our cloaks are a symbol of our purity.
I almost threw up in my own mouth.
I swear to God. He said that out loud.
Like,
in front of, we can hear you, sir.
Those guys that get up from the table and leave when Kristen starts yelling. That fucking, you've seen The Color Purple, right? I always ask you this, and I don't think you have.
But it's been a really long time.
It's the fucking scene when Oprah Winfrey's character is getting ready to beat the shit out of her husband's girlfriend. And she's got, so Oprah Winfrey's character Sophia has got a reputation for fighting and beating both bitches and dudes up. Like, that's her whole jam. And she's got this temper, and she will punch you in your fucking face. And she's at the club, at the juke joint, just trying to have a good time. And she comes in with her new man. She's ready to have some moonshine, and it's a party. And it's her her husband's juke joint. And her husband has this new girlfriend, played by Irene Cara. And she sees Sophia come in, and she says, that's where Harpo, who this woman, comes from.
Oh, okay, yep.
And she's like, who this woman? And she calls Sophia something. She insults her. And you just see like her right hand ball into a fist, and all the musicians at the juke joint, they're like, "Oh, time to go!" And they start packing up the guitars. One guy closes the lid on the piano, and everybody just like bounces because they know what's about to happen. That's exactly what the scene made me think. They got out of there so fucking fast. And you know what? I guess because I've never been in the military or anything like that, I guess when your commanding officer is about to, you know, tear somebody a new one, there's nothing you can do. You can't like jump up in defense of the other guy. I guess that's considered like insubordination. So I guess the only thing you can do is leave.
Yeah,
but
so I probably also have been waiting for that shoe to drop because they knew somebody was. Like,
yeah, somebody was
to get blamed.
Yep,
you know?
Yep. And once the arrow sort of lasers in on Arik, everybody's like, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get out of here before he looks at me too.
I hate this so much. I hate this poor guy. Everything that happens is all because of this fucking asshole's personal gripes with a woman who didn't want to go sell apples and oranges and cinnamon with him.
Yeah, I can't believe he is still as salty as he is about that all of these years later, that he still has not taken responsibility for his own actions. And I know we had a conversation during season 1 about how Kristen as a servant and Rhaenyra as princess, you know, she was the one that had the power in that moment. Like the power dynamics based on station. But dude, come on. She did not make you sully that white cloak. Like you could have been like, no. Like Selmy would never.
I don't know if, like, I get what you're saying, but I don't know. Could he say no? What
to fucking her?
Rhaenyra, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to picture her and say it's Barristan Selmy. And she's trying to seduce him. I know it's weird because he's so old, but like, imagine, you know, what I'm talking about, like the type of man that he was compared to the type of man that Kristen Cole is. Barristan Selmy would fucking never. And he would have been able to manage it in a way that did not necessarily disrespect the queen. But I do not think in a million years, you know. This is what's the name of the fucking, is it Oakhart or something, sir?
Eris Oakhart, yeah.
And he's the one that falls for Ariana, right? Right?
Yep.
Like there are certain types of dudes that this shit's gonna work on, and then there's other types of dudes that it's not. And Kristen Cole is one of those weak dudes, and he knows it deep down in his heart. He knows it. And he had this moment to test his character, to test who he is as a man. What kind of man are you going to be? And Rhaenyra plays a part. She's like, you know, ready to get it in, and she's the princess, and you can't tell me no or whatever. But it was a test for him and his character, and he failed it. And he is so filled with self-loathing, this man is. He's just a walking fucking open sore. Which I exactly ill. That's why he's so gross to us all.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm so torn on this because I feel like you head too far in this direction, and it starts to be like, well, then if any woman were in this situation, do we say that another woman would have handled it better and you should have been more like her? Like, it feels victim blamey, but the dynamic here is so strange that I don't really know how to parse that. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, we could think of it like, this may or may not be a good example because I don't remember getting POVs from the people that she slept with, but like Cersei sleeping with the cousin.
Kettle Blacks.
Yeah, like sleeping with them, or the Kettle Blacks are terrible though, aren't they? Yeah,
well, so's Chris.
So
that's why I thought you were making that comparison.
Yeah, but they were terrible before. He was. See, that's the thing is, I don't know how terrible Kristen Cole has always been. I think I think that I know this is a lot of time on this one thing, guys. I'm so sorry, but I think that it's a combination of who he is already, whatever kind of insecurities that he may have, especially when you are reminded that he's like comes from kind of like nothing. Mm-hmm. You know, and has had to kind of work his way up into the Kingsguard. Like, this is a big fucking promotion for him to have even been, added to Rhaenyra's Kingsguard. So, I think he has some insecurities and some other things going on. And to your point about, like, if it was inverted,
I don't like to do that much because it is often very disingenuous. But I feel like in this situation, I kind of have to.
Well, we would have to invert it all the ways, though. We would have to make it like an older woman who has say, like Aegon in the Housemaids. Would that be a good example of like power dynamic and not really having a choice and not being able to say no because they're king?
It's so hard to, because like there's obviously a difference between physically forcing somebody who is fighting back and somebody who is consenting, but the psychological aspect and long-term repercussions are sitting there. You know, like you're pointing out him having kind of come from nothing and what an opportunity this is. And maybe like you don't want to squander that if that is indeed the position that you're in, and you rarely are like given a way out. But it's not the same situation. And I know that they're not, but I just don't know how to like hold him responsible for his actions and also respect the fact that this was not a fair situation in a lot of ways.
And that's what's so tricky, because like if we didn't feel a certain way about it, then like the ideas of us, like it's constantly like jokingly being like, you're still holding on to this chick that like swerved you 15 years ago. Which tells me that, you know, we really do think that on some level that he is overreacting and, you know, has a hard on and is being petty and being vindictive. Which none of that sounds like we think that he is a victim in the scenario.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I don't know, I'm having trouble like with how to talk about it, because I do feel like I don't know what Rhaenyra does if he refuses her. I don't believe that she would just be like, get me a different Kingsguard, you're fired. But it's within her right if she were to do that, you know? And that's really the question, not like, is she the type of person to treat him badly? But simply that she has it in her power to treat him badly, and he doesn't know. People can surprise you with the way that they suddenly turn on a dime, you know? So if he insults her in such a way or makes her feel worried that he's going to tell somebody that she like propositioned him and wants to just cut it off at the knees so that he can't accuse her, she could. But you know, it's just, I don't know. It's really hard to.
It's really complicated if you try to dig into it, you know, because it's so much easier and much more fun to just really hate him because he's such a fucking douchebag, and not, you know, interrogate how we get here because that part is very, very messy. But just talking about how much he sucks is so much more fun.
It's true.
And the thing is, he does suck, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he deserved what happened to him. If you're of the opinion that he was in a situation that he didn't have any good options in, right?
Yeah.
But my God, does he fucking suck, y'all? He sucks so hard. So yeah, he has his plan. He's going to send this poor man into Dragonstone alone, pretend to be his brother, slide into the castle, murder Rhaenyra, and then slide on home. And you have to do this because you bumbled last night so poorly, and that it's all your fault that the heir to the throne was murdered, and this is the only way to get honor back, which is a wild manipulation. And I'm wondering, like, how toxic has Kristen Cole's exposure to these people been that he is turning into this, like, this monster? You know, like, like he's so jaded and got the dead eyes. Did you see that weird glitching he was doing outside of the door? Did you catch that? When Allison says that you seek absolution, it's so that scene. There's no time for to do it now, but I would really want you to go back and look at it. When she says that, because she's going to take a bath and he's like outside guarding her door, and they have the conversation, and then she shuts the door. He does this thing, right, where he's like shaking his head, but they're really quick shakes. It's like it looks like he's glitching.
Huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't catch that. No.
Yeah, okay. He's like doing this thing with his head, like he's trying to like shake out,
shake himself up or something.
It's hard to describe. The best way I can say is like when you have a thought and it's so like horrible, like an intrusive thought, right? And you do that thing like, well, I do it. I don't just might be sharing my crazy a little too freely with like people who I don't know. But like sometimes I'll have an intrusive thought and I will like shake my head real quick to like, get it out.
Yeah.
It's almost like that. Yeah. Go back and check for it. Yeah.
All right. Let's again, I'm gonna move this along. So let's really quickly talk about, there's the conversation between Bela and Jace. I don't even really remember what happens and then what they talk about in this scene. I feel like you mentioned it earlier.
Yeah. So he comes out because she's out. She's practicing shooting an arrow, and he says, she goes something like, where's my father? And he's like off to Harrenhal, I think, because she had asked Rhaenyra where her father was, and Rhaenyra was just like, he left. So they end up talking about dads. And she says, sometimes I think I hate him. And he's just like, dads are tough, man. And you guys, truer words have never been spoken. I swear to fucking God.
It's true.
And she asked about your father. She asked like, what do you remember about your dad? And he talks about memories that he has of Rhaenyra. Is it Rhaenyra?
Lenore, I think.
Is it Lenore? Is it Lenore? No, it's Lay. That beginning sound is always like a Lay sound.
Lay. I don't remember then.
Like it's like Bela and Lena and Rhaenyra. But anyway, so he shares a story about like, oh, he did this and he did that. And then she says, and what about Sir Harwin? And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was just sort of like
we're just saying it out loud.
Say now? Yeah.
I guess these two are like to be married if they're not already. So I guess that they're allowed to have these like moments of honesty. Like he doesn't have to pretend with her. Is my take on it. Is that they are not. There's no need for the pretense when it's just the two of them together.
I like that.
Yeah, I did too. I liked it a lot too. And I think at the end of it, they're just kind of quiet. And he says, I miss Luke. And it's just really, really, yeah, it's very sweet. But that's pretty much their whole conversation. And then it goes to the brothel from there.
Okay, yeah, the brothel is a weird scene because, like, I don't know if we knew any of this about Aemond and the way that he spends his free time. Were we aware that he just, like, goes and hangs out at brothels and looks adoringly at a mother figure type?
We were not. We knew that he had been with this woman before because we met her in season 1. When they are, do you remember when it's Kristen and Aemond? And then the twins. So it's the coronation morning and they need to find Aegon who's drunk in the city.
Oh, okay.
And they're like looking for him and they go to this whorehouse and she answers the door and she's like, Aegon's not here. And then she looks at Aemond and goes, you've grown, or you're all grown up now, or something like that.
Oh, right. Okay.
And then Aemond tells a story about how Aegon had taken him to that brothel to lose his virginity when he was like whatever years old at the time. So So we know that they've met, and she says, you know, "Ooh, you've grown up." But now that I see them here, I'm like, she didn't have to say anything, right, about knowing Eamon, period. Mm-hmm. So if my first I was like, was she just trying to make it seem like she hasn't seen, because Kristen is right there. I was like, is she trying to make it seem like she hasn't seen Eamon since that one encounter, like covering it up? But I think he just goes back to that brothel from that moment on.
After meeting her and her comment to him?
Yeah, I think he has been visiting this brothel after that moment in time.
Okay.
But, and it is, this whole scene, you guys, was so surprisingly sad. I was not expecting to see Eamon so vulnerable at any point in this TV show.
Yeah. And
the fact that they have him being completely nude and being cradled like a child and being served, what I'm assuming is just warm milk, but it could possibly have some, what is it, poppy in it or something for relaxation.
Oh, maybe,
you know? But, and she is, I just loved everything about the scene.
Yeah.
It was so unexpected and so beautiful. And to have this woman who has a name, I think it's Sylvie or Sylvia or something. She says,
don't know.
Sorry. She says something to him. He's talking about how Damon sent those men to kill me, and how it's kind of cool. Like I'm a little honored. You know, it's just it's an honor to be nominated.
God.
He says, I'm honored that he considers me such a foe, which is a real misread of what was happening. Mm-hmm. Like, Eamon is framing it like, oh, Damon needs to take me out because I'm so dangerous.
Right. Do you think he knows that? Do you think, like, I kind of thought that he was sort of trying to keep things light here when he
that's an interesting take. No, that didn't occur to me at all.
I don't know.
Yeah, it could be that he seeks to murder. I'm such a foe that he seeks to murder me in my bed. That could be very tongue in cheek. You're right. I took it very literally. Oh, now you got me thinking.
Matter as of right. Well, I guess it does matter because, like, Eamon is just such a weird character. I don't really know what drives him a lot of the time. He is intelligent, for sure. He is focused and somebody who really has a very sort of black and white idea of, like, what's expected of you. And so in that respect, I feel like I get him. But beyond that, I feel like this is the first time we really see any indication of something very personal about what he wants or needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Not having a mother that he feels like he can go to about this, I guess. Mm-hmm. That's not necessarily the only read, but I don't know. It feels there's no conversation between. It's really thrown into sharp relief against the end of the last episode when Jace comes home and he tries to, like, just report to Rhaenyra, and then she gets up and hugs him because he can't get through it. It's like a scene like that with Allison. All
the Greens don't, like, there's no moment. The closest we get is, well, I'm not even going to count anything that happens in the council meetings because those are fucking council meetings, you know?
Yeah.
But we have Otto, talking about his grief for the loss of his grandchild. Which is just him speaking to a room full of people. He's not being comforted or comforting anyone else. We have Aegon and his rage. But each one is very isolated. Like, there's never a moment where one of them takes the other in their arms, and it's like when Allison tries it with Helena, it doesn't work. She sees Aegon towards the end of the episode sobbing and stands there for a few moments like she's torn on what to do next, but she ends up not going to him.
Yeah.
Aemon chooses to find consolation completely outside the family with this woman here. It is Viserys would be heartbroken.
Yeah.
This is how it is. This is what his family is. They are so, for people who are supposed to be putting up a united front to rule the realm, they couldn't be more fractured.
Yeah.
In like a familiar sense, in a familial sense. Ugh. That's a word I don't really like saying. But yeah, and he's telling this woman some really personal like shit. Like this is like high level classified information that he's just talking about here. You know, the fact that murders were sent and that they were looking for him. And he talks about how they teased him when he was a child. Oh, you know what? He says that Daemon is afraid of him. Also here, I think he's being serious when he talks about, you know, it was
being seen as a threat.
Yeah, I think he's dead ass. I think he's serious. Which again, circles me back to him not understanding that it was not about getting rid of a foe that I don't want to meet later. I was trying to enact some vengeance, and I was going after one of her sons.
It's really like I do sort of wonder. That's not the motivation here at all, for sure. But I do sort of wonder if Daemon doesn't see him as a threat. Like, this kid is very much giving the same dangerous energy that Daemon does. I call him a kid. He's probably like 30 years old. So it's not out of the question that is ultimately true, but I certainly don't think that's what was happening with this.
I think the only thing that keeps me from thinking that he's a threat, that Daemon considers Aemon a threat, because I agree with you about the energy and that Aemon is a threat. Like, Aemon is a threat, if for no other reason than Vhagar, right? So I'm not trying to pretend like that this kid isn't dangerous. But I also, it's hard for me to imagine Daemon taking anybody as a threat to himself personally. Because, you know, his ego is just like a threat to moi. You know what I mean? But now that you mention it, we're going to get that right at some point. That's got to happen, because clearly the show is building us. I feel like building up Aemon to be in direct conflict with Daemon. So, I don't know if it's in the books or not, but I feel like there's going to be a moment, right, when the two of them square up.
I don't know.
Blonde lace front versus blonde lace front. See what happens.
Battle of the Blondes. I like it.
And he also says here that he does feel bad about what happened to Luke.
Yeah.
I do feel bad about that. I lost my temper.
Yeah, he says I lost my temper, even though it looked like that was just the dragon doing its own thing. So now are we meant to think that he did kind of do that on purpose?
Well,
that was not the way that I understood it.
You know what I meant? This is one of those moments where it really is like, how do you choose to interpret it? Because when he says, I lost my temper, he could just be meaning the beginning of it, where he tries to take this kid's eye out in, where were they at? The Baratheon place? Yeah. You know, and lost his temper and started the dragon chase that ended up that way. Not necessarily that he was, you know what I mean? So I took it as him saying, I'm sorry for that. Like, not the actual, you know, Vhagar snapping that poor dragon like a twig. So I stand by our original take on what went down. Okay. Which was that, you know, he was just on a dragon who does dragon shit, and he wasn't like prepared for it.
Yeah, I think you're right. So then we have the scene with Hugh and his, I think, sick daughter.
Mm-hmm. Somebody very sick on the cot. Austin Armenio had said in a group that there were going to be, when we talked about Hugh in the first episode, he wrote us a little response like he usually does for our questions. Mm-hmm. And he had mentioned that this season we were going to get a lot of POVs from small folk. And one of the things we get before we leave Aemon is Sylvie saying to Aemon that when princes lose their temper, a lot of people suffer, especially people like me, the small folk. Mm-hmm. And then it goes from that right to Hugh. And I really like that we are getting this small folk perspective on all the shenanigans that are afoot. And I hope that it doesn't turn into one of those things where people are like, I just want to see more dragons. Like, get me back to the castle. Because I really like this. And, sometimes if shows hear too much negative shit, then they move away from it next time. Right. You know what I mean? Yep, so I hope that people are enjoying these little glimpses. Girl, she said I had to walk 2 hours and pay 3 times as much for that chicken.
Yeah, I was like, that sounded a little bit of a familiar song to me. But
eggs is $12 a dozen.
I'm saying, I hate this song. But yeah, he's like saying like the blockade, which is apparently keeping food supply down, hasn't been up that long. And he just thinks like we shouldn't be short of food.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't think we are, but people are hoarding.
Yep.
Basically.
Mm-hmm.
Which, we also know about. Looks
commentary.
Trenchant. And there's a moment where she scoops up some soup into a bowl and hands it to him. And I don't know if this is me over analyzing the moment, but she hands him the bowl and he seems to be very much looking around for where's the bread? Where's the rest of it? And then realizes this is all we got and resigns himself to this is all we got. But I really felt like there was a sort of like look-see. And that's okay.
When he first gets the bowl of soup, he takes a sip and then he starts looking around and she hands him salt.
Yes.
Which just made me laugh because it's like, was she low-key like, I gotta watch this diet?
Or maybe it's salt is really fucking expensive, and if you don't absolutely need it, don't use it, please. Oh, okay. You need it.
My God. Like, I wonder if he'll notice that I only use half the amount I usually use and see if I can get away with it.
Yeah. And he says the king has promised us some relief. And she says, did he say when? And he doesn't answer and looks away from her, and she knows what that means clearly.
Isn't that always the fucking way that goes?
Yep.
Coming home, telling me like something, and then you ask a follow-up question and they got nothing.
It's so depressing too. Like every time, just the whole sense of like, things have been promised.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God. Yeah. So that's pretty much that scene. And then we go to the shipyard, and I do not remember like anything about this guy, him saving Corliss's life. So I know because Corliss said this. Yes. I don't remember it, and I don't remember who this other dude is that he is meeting, unless we've just never met him before, which certainly could be the thing.
I don't believe we've met him, the brother, before. This is the first time we're meeting him, and it's Alan, and the brother with the dreadlocks is Adam, I think, maybe.
Okay.
Now when you say that you only know this guy saved his life because Corliss said that, same. I don't know if I don't remember us like actually seeing any of that. Like in season 1, we just know that something like the shit that happens to Corliss all happens like off screen.
Okay.
You know, and then
I didn't rewatch the previous season, just, you know, as an FYI, guys. So, like, there are going to be smaller sort of side plots that I definitely have forgotten.
So, if this guy made an appearance in season 1, is like a small appearance for like being thanked or something by Rhaenys for like saving his life or something like that, I completely forgot about it. And they're very cute together, these two gentlemen. This younger brother is very excited that I'm assuming his big brother is home from all of his adventures, and he's very excited for his big brother's good fortune. You know, saving the king of Driftmark, even though he's not really a king, is a big fucking deal. So he's like, dude, you're fucking set for life. Like, you hit the lottery. Why is your face so twisted up? What's wrong? Why aren't you smiling more?
Every time somebody comes into a scene and is like, why aren't you smiling more? I just want to be like, look, everybody's got problems. I have the same reaction I do to somebody saying it to me on the street. Just mind your own business. People have their own problems. Don't tell them how to feel.
He's just like, yeah, you're gonna sail with him, and dude, Alan, the bald-headed one, has to be like, he didn't actually ask me.
He's just like, semantics, whatever. It's a given. Come on, bruh. Get in the spirit here. I'm trying to do something.
And he says, not only did he not make an offer, but I would rather he not.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not mistaken, we don't really get, like, he's just basically telling his little brother that you fucking think it's all a game because you haven't been to war. You haven't seen what it does, what it's like, you know. And the little brother is just like, yeah, it's an opportunity to show them who you are. I don't see what the problem is here.
Yeah, he's there's a sort of tone to bald-headed guy whose name I'm sadly
That's Alan.
Just said. Alan, thank you. But there was sort of a tone to him that I couldn't decipher whether it was simply like the realities of war in a very general sense, or if something had happened that we didn't see yet that we're going to find out about. You know what I mean? Like,
I am going to tell you something because I was going to keep my wild conspiracy theories to myself. But when the little brother is talking to Alan, when he's trying to like tell him like you need to like let him do favors for you, like, you know, why are you not taking this opportunity? Yeah, why are you resisting this opportunity? The little brother with the dreadlock says he owes you, he owes us. And then Alan changes the subject to like, what's for dinner tonight? He owes us. Why does Corliss owe y'all specifically?
Maybe he means the small folk?
I don't know if he means the small folk, the shipwrights, or them as a family, them as brothers. What are the bastards of Driftmark called? Do they have a thing?
I don't remember.
Because these guys' names, according to the closed caption, their names are Adam and Alan of Hull, Hull, like a ship's hull, right? I don't know if that's like a real family name or if that's like a bastard name. Because if it's a bastard name, then my mind was like, does Corliss have bastards? But that's like that's crazy. That's crazy talk. And they don't have the white hair, the one with the, you know.
No, they don't.
So like I don't know. I'm probably like way off. But I wanted to let you guys know sometimes I have crazy ideas. And that's one of them.
I feel like if it were Driftmark, it would be waters, because that's what they just do in areas where it's like, you know, that's the
What was the name of the bastard that comes and helps Cersei becoming her fucking admiral before he absconds with her ships?
Or Rainwaters.
So so it's Waters. Okay. Well, never mind. Then there goes that theory.
But I mean, you never know what the show's going to do. Sometimes they don't stick to the script. You know, they'll do some wild stuff we've seen. So who knows?
Oh, I think you're right about it being something that we haven't seen yet. That's gonna show up with these two brothers. That makes them sort of, not that they have to be more important than just because they're small folk, but like something that ties them into the bigger story. Don't know what it's going to be yet. But yeah, when he says he owes us, I was just like, word? For what though?
Yeah, it's a big word to use.
Mm-hmm.
So then we have the scene with Rhaenys and Corlys in bed, having a little chit chat about Daemon's overall attitude and how it's leaving much to be desired. And he is trying to sort of defend Daemon, and Rhaenys is absolutely not having that.
I love Rhaenys, and I love how she is so fucking consistent.
Yep.
And that she sees Daemon. Like, she sees him.
Mm-hmm.
She has a very good idea of who and what he is, and even like a really good insight into his motivations. I love the bit where she's like, I've also had the crown passed over. I know what that feels like. I love that moment so much. That was really good. Fucking.
It's like she's managing to be compassionate to his position, but she's not tolerating his shit either.
Yep.
You know, she can see where he's coming from and also be like, and get over it. Like many of us have done in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Move on.
Corlys out here talking like, well, he is king consort. And she has to remind everybody again, but he is not the king. Corlys would love.
So hard, everybody.
Corlys would be like, if Daemon were to like take up arms, because I think they talk about that too. Like, are you thinking that he's going to take up arms against Rhaenyra? You know, Corlys would like, what do you call it? When you throw in for somebody, you throw your support to somebody, he would
throw your hat in the ring?
Like, no, I was trying to be a little bit more like in universe. Pledge fealty or whatever.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But I firmly believe that Corlys would follow Daemon. If Daemon were to be like, the crown should be mine. Corlys would be like, you damn straight it should be.
Ooh, that sucks. I hate knowing that. I hope that's not true. I think you may be right, though, based on things, evidence. Oh, I just really want him to be like absolutely ride or die for Rhaenys and her cause, like for her, and to be on the same side as her with the way that she's interpreting everything else as well, so that he, like, it just feels like disloyalty in general if he doesn't take her side on this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to do that. God forbid. I really don't think they're going to do Daemon, like, trying to flex or Rhaenyra and be like, the crown should be mine. I don't want that to be where this story goes. Mm-hmm. But, because even Corlys is like, do you think he would do that? And Rhaenys is like, well, not so much. But she says something like, she says at the beginning that he was never good with devotion. And then towards the end, she says something like, he was never good at being commanded, but it's something like, Rhaenys says something like, maybe Daemon wants it for himself. And then she's like, well, I don't think he'd really do it, but also he can't be commanded either. So like, what do you do with a problem named Daemon? What do you like? Like she's right. Like, he never answered Rhaenyra when she says, am I your queen and your ruler? He never actually answered that question. not in a real way, not in the kind of, yes, your grace, you are my queen.
I don't
works,
think that I don't think that he can answer it because he knows.
Yeah.
You know, like, right? His answer would be no. It would just be no.
Yep. He's not like to kneel in a real way, like, because he kneeled when he crowned Rhaenyra, right? Mm-hmm. But there was like folks around. But like in his heart of hearts, is he her subject to be ruled? No. Not in his heart, not in his mind, not really. And Rhaenys is calling that shit right on out, and I was glad that she did, because somebody's got to say it. And then what does Corlys say back to her?
Because she says, like, he doesn't like to be given orders, and he says something like, oh, it's too bad. I find it quite enjoyable from time to time. Something like that.
Yeah. There's something nice, too, about seeing this intimate moment with Rhaenys and Corlys. Because I always felt from season 1, I really did think that they had like they had some moments when they lost their children. It was like really some real rough shit that they had to work through. But I'm really glad to see that it appears that they have worked through those tough things, when she had to call him out on how he was obsessive about the throne because of her slight, and he had never let it go. And really it's because he wanted the power. He wanted the power of being king consort. It was so nice to see them together in what appears to be a loving relationship where they're able to have this kind of conversation. And also just like a little bit of like an old
them in general.
Absolutely. Agreed. And there was something about seeing like older folks also enjoying like an intimate moment and having like a little bawdy joke between the two of them, you know. And the way that she nestles her head on his chest, as they're continuing to talk about like what the way the war may go between, and I say war between Daemon and Rhaenyra, not like literal, but like their emotional war. And she says something like, well, if he's able to get Harrenhal, maybe everything will be forgiven. And then she just says, well, I'm here. My big ass dragon is here. You know, we got the queen's back. We're not going to let her falter. She's just the best, y'all. She's just the best. She is. She should have been queen.
Do you think he's going to get Harrenhal? What's your prediction on that?
Well, first of all, I can't remember who has it now. I know the Strongs had it before they were all murdered.
I think it's Larys now.
I think you're right.
I don't know how that works.
Did Alicent give it to Larys?
I think that's why he killed his brother and father. Because he's just the next in line.
Oh, you know what? I keep forgetting that Larys is a Strong. Nobody had to give it to him. He inherited it.
Yeah.
I keep fucking forgetting that motherfucker's last name. And also the fact that he murdered his father and brother. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So do I think he'll get it? Well, I mean, unless they send they're going to have to send a dragon there to help protect it, because Daemon is on his way with his dragon. So
true.
My God, maybe that's what happens. Maybe Aemon goes with Vhagar and Daemon is that. Maybe that shit pops off at Harrenhal.
Ooh.
I don't know, y'all. I don't know. And he says Daemon's supposed to be raising an army, but like if they take Harrenhal by force, does that mean like all the men are suddenly on their side? That's not what that means. That
sort of thing doesn't feel real. I don't know if it is in this universe.
So I'm going to admit that I am stuck on exactly what getting, and this is people were yelling because they probably said it explicitly in the first episode, because she talks about sending him to Harrenhal before, before all this shit with the kid jumps off. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly what else there is to gain besides the property itself as a foothold to like send your soldiers there to that castle to post up so that you're kind of closer to King's Landing.
I feel like that might be the main strategic.
So it's like location.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, again, anybody who is interested in telling us what you know or theorize, go ahead on that Discord or on the Facebook. Not my Facebook page, because that is now a shitposting page, although I will post the episode info on there. But I was talking about the patrons only Facebook group is pretty busy lately.
And answers in there, please.
Yeah, so that RoShawn can see it. Unless you want to talk spoilers, in which case the Discord is really the place to be. There is a Song of Ice and Fire spoiler group, but it has not been used in God knows how long. So very, very low activity on that one. Sorry. I did my best. I can't make people talk. Okay.
So then we go to Rhaenyra meeting again, Mysaria.
Mm-hmm.
This played out beautifully.
Yeah, I really liked this. It was... I had almost suspicions at first when Rhaenyra eventually lets her go. I was like, is she really? Or is she like setting her up to follow her somehow and find out something else, you know? But nope. It seems like she is just trying to uphold what was promised on her behalf, because Daemon's just out here using her name.
Look at Rhaenyra.
I know it's his name too, but like, come on.
Showing us too, like, the type of queen she would be, that she is. And like, she doesn't have to, if she had given in to her impulses of rage and whatever else possible, there's even room for jealousy to have been slipped in there if she had wanted to go down that road once she realizes who Mysaria is and that, you know, the relationship she had with Daemon. But Rhaenyra shows like restraint and grace, and it immediately boomerangs right back into saving her life. Like,
that's true.
You know? Because
pay it forward, kids.
You know, like if she had decided to send her back to the cells or take her head, then Kristen's ridiculous plan would have fucking worked.
It really came close, man.
It really came close.
Felt so goofy, and then I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Wait, he's getting pretty far in there. Though.
Yeah.
Oh, he's
right
in the room. Oh, no.
Do y'all have any, not only would I have been upset because Rhaenyra was murdered, that would have been a tragedy, but like, the fucking rage I would feel that Kristen Cole had a successful plan.
Right.
Like, I just would not have been able to swallow his success. Like, I just wouldn't be able to do it.
I feel that.
He has to fail at every moment or I won't sleep at night. Like, I need everything he touches to like turn to ash in his hand is what I need for Kristen Cole. And that he came as close as he did to fucking like winning the whole fucking thing. Man, listen.
Yeah.
I can't have that man prosper.
Agreed. Yeah, definitely not. Oh God. That post on Facebook that I can't remember where I found it, but it was like, I am a Kristen Cole hater. If he does not have any haters, then I am dead. If he is against the world, then I am with the world. If he is with the world, then I am against the world. Just, no matter what. Nah, not him. Not this guy.
I don't know if I posted it in the group or not because it was like so specific to the song, but somebody just I think it might have been the Your Problematic Faves group that posted it, that I'm the biggest hater. I hate the way that you walk. I hate the way that you talk. I hate the way that you dress. And it was just a picture of Kristen Cole.
Yep. That energy.
There's like, because of the content, like there's my whole feed is just, you know, Game of Thrones pages that you are suggested for me. You know, so I just try to like be careful because of spoilers, but a a lot of people haven't read this book that this is on, so spoilers aren't as rampant as they were for the OG series, right? There's just like, you know, not enough people have read it, it seems. So I'm being careful, but I don't have to be as diligent as I did, you know, for the series, or like I had to do with like Harry Potter, where like it didn't matter. Spoilers were just everywhere all the time, no matter, even if this fucking series was a decade old. But somebody in one of those meme groups that popped up, they were talking about Kristen Cole, but they call him Sir Drake.
Oh man, it's right there. How did I never think of that? That's perfect. Bless the internet.
The
People don't know what they're doing sometimes.
They really do. They really do. And I have to, like I've said it before. I think I've said it before, but y'all, if you are not watching Black people talk about these shows, you are missing out. You're missing out. You're missing out on the best memes. You're missing out on the best jokes.
Listen, there's a reason why white people be stealing from Black people all the fucking time. If you're not listening to Black conversations on most pop culture stuff, you're very much missing out. Like that's where the juice is.
It really, really is. Like I have been slayed so many times. I just can't even like it. But yeah, this moment with Rhaenyra and Mysaria, Rhaenyra's just being all, you know, tell me what you did. She's being very stern, you know, and she's just like, Mysaria says, you know, what she did. And then she's just like, that shit that happened with the Hightowers, that listen, I only played
want that.
Right. I played a very small transactional part that, you know, that shit with the coronation was going to happen whether I made my bag on it or not. I just decided to take an opportunity to get a little something out of the exchange. And she has now lost everything because of that, and everything that she's built. And she tells a story about how she came from nothing and things she's had to do to get where she was. And then they have the conversation moves to Daemon, because Mysaria asked, like, where is he? And Rhaenyra's like, I don't know. He's gone. For how long? I don't know. A day or a week or a month. And then Mysaria's like, yeah, he does that, doesn't he? And it starts, you can see on her face, Rhaenyra is realizing who this is.
Yeah, this is it was reminding me of a scene in a later Sex and the City season where Carrie is dating this artist, and he has an ex-wife that she's going to go meet for the first time. Because apparently, like, that's a thing that some people do. And his ex-wife is really cool, but she mentions a couple of things that were issues when they were together. And Carrie had thought of all of those things as like one-off emergency sort of situations. And hearing it from this woman about how that was sort of just how he operated makes her stop and be like, oh no, you know? And that's how I felt here. Just like when you let the ex-girlfriends talk to the current girlfriends, it's a lot harder to hide your bullshit because
right.
Your patterns are much easier to connect when you've got more than one person being like, oh, no, he did that with me too. Like,
yeah. And it ends up being a real bonding moment for the two of them. Yeah, it made me a promise.
I really feel like Rhaenyra sees like herself in the way that she had stuff right in her grasp. She was doing what she was like supposed to, and it didn't matter because some fucking dude decided to come into the picture and just ruin it all, and was able to do that with no real like thought put into it, because it's just easy to do that to women, you know?
And also not only did he do that, but just left her in the dust for his new life and his new wife and his new babies, and, you know, everything that he had promised was forgotten. It didn't mean anything whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because he found, I'm sure Rhaenyra is thinking, a much better option. Like, why would I try to like run my own shit with this whore when I could fucking marry the queen and sit next to the throne? and just like dumped her like trash, basically.
Yep.
She has a wonderful line too when she's talking about how all the work she did to build herself up, and then it all got taken away. And she's like, "Why did I even fucking bother? I should have just stayed a goddamn whore. Like, what the fuck?" But yeah, so she ends up honoring Daemon's promise that if, she helped him facilitate this murder attempt, that she would be free. And Rhaenyra honors that. And we see how that turns out very, very quickly.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I do want to make a comment here, just in a general sense, because I harped on this a lot with the last season, and I have decided to pretty much just let it go at this point. But I do want to mention it, that the way that the show has structured the story has really made it difficult to be anything other than Team Black. And it's a lot more cut and dried, whether people are decent people doing the right thing in this version than it is in the original story. And it just, like, I said last year that I was just really hoping for a story about two terrible women who make bad decisions because they're selfish, bad people. And we're really still having a lot of the plot, like, it being pushed along by the male characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's Daemon who organizes this thing, and Rhaenyra is just passively, like, not knowing about it, finds out about it too late. There's Kristen Cole's plan, and, Alicent had nothing to do with that and didn't approve it, didn't know about it. And it does just kind of bum me out when I step back and look at it, like how the part of this story that I was really enjoying about what women are like in power and how does that go just isn't really being explored in the way that I was hoping. And I just have to sort of accept that that's not what this story is going to be. But it's frustrating knowing that it could have been.
Can I ask, since you've brought it up, in the books is Alicent more involved in the plan? Is Rhaenyra more involved in, like, I know the baby thing happens in the book because everybody was talking about it, but what I don't know is, was Rhaenyra
did not know about the plan.
Okay.
So that is true to the book.
Okay. What about Alicent and this twin parent trap situation? Was that in the books?
I don't recall. And when I say, like, I'm talking about these two instances where they're not involved, these two instances may be canonically, they may go this way. I don't remember. But there are a lot of instances in the previous season where I know that they were more involved and they changed it up. And this, I mean, we already talked about, like, the whole misunderstanding of Aegon's last words the way that they keep leaning on that instead of it just being like, I would like power, please, and thank you. So I'm when I'm talking about this, I'm not really talking about these scenes specifically. Gotcha. I'm just sort of giving this as, like, an overall example. And I think that the scene we have with Rhaenyra, like, confronting Daemon, like, that is not passive. She is trying to have a hand in things. And I am pretty certain part of what the show is attempting to do here is show how women aren't being taken seriously even when they do have power. That, like, it doesn't matter to a point because
people are still
do what they want.
They're just still doing whatever the fuck they want and not addressing them at all, even though they're the I will say, and I don't know if this is going to end up supporting your point or not, but when we get to it, and we have got to get, I keep talking about everything too long. I'm so sorry, but I just really love this episode. But there's going to be a part when Otto is getting dismissed, and he says to Aegon, because Aegon is like, he chose me, and Otto says, "Is that what you think?"
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? Because
I was confused because I thought he knew, I thought he believed his daughter, and I think maybe he thinks his daughter's making it up.
This is what I'm saying. Like, so are we going to one or two things. I don't even know if it'll get addressed because he's getting sent out of fucking King's Landing. But so I don't know if there's going to be opportunity to have the conversation. But either he never believed Alicent and chose to go with the lie, or he understood what Viserys was saying, or knew Viserys well enough to know that man did not change his mind on his deathbed, but decided to let his daughter's misunderstanding, decided to just go with that, which then what they're doing is they're making Alicent sort of like, oh, I really believe this is what happened. And then Otto is the mastermind being like, well, that was clearly bullshit, but we're going to run with it. And then that is just like, once again, having her not like be a part of making the choice, you know, like,
yeah.
So I don't know what that line was about, but I thought it was very interesting because it was played in the first season like she honestly misunderstood what Viserys was saying, and her father believed her earnestly. And, you know, and now it's like the show is saying, well, Otto didn't actually believe that at all. He always knew it was bullshit. Yeah.
I don't know. What do you guys think? Because I feel like I remember a scene when she's telling him what Viserys said, where he's looking at Alicent sort of like, this is how you're going to play this? Okay, let's see how it goes. You know? And I guess I had just sort of like let it go at that and just been like, it doesn't matter if he believes her or not, because I never thought that was really going to come up in a serious way. But the fact that he's willing to throw it in Aegon's face like that changes a lot about that whole thing. Interesting.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's go to the scene. We have, first of all, the really terrible scene where every single solitary rat catcher has been hanged.
Yeah.
And understandably, Otto, who was not consulted about this because Aegon is determined to try and do his own thing, finds out and storms into Aegon's office? ? And is basically just like, what the fuck did you do, you goddamn imbecile? You've ruined everything.
Yeah, this is harsh. This is some hard words, Christian. What does he say? Careful how you speak to the king, sir. The king is my grandson, and he's a fucking idiot.
I could not believe that he was just saying all of this stuff out loud. I really was kind of impressed. Like, I knew it was curtains for him anyway. You know, like the whole way that Larys was trying to play Aegon, I was just like, yeah, all right. I mean, this is just happening at this point. But it nevertheless, I was just sort of like, gasp.
Right? I texted you, like, he's going to lose his head. You can't just be popping off at the king like this all willy-nilly. But yeah, Otto is incensed. All of my hard work. And he is talking about not just the last 2 days with the baby. Everything I've been doing for years to put you in this fucking chair was a mistake. You are a mistake. Yeah. You know, we bought the empathy, the sympathy, possible fucking alliances with your murdered kid, and you just threw it all in the trash for fucking what? You are thoughtless, you're reckless. And Aegon is like, well, at least I fucking did something, you know, sitting around waiting for, what is he said? I want blood, not ink. I want to spill blood, not ink. Yeah, he has fucked up everything Otto has so painstakingly tried to build. And I mean, all I can say to that, Sir Otto, is that, well, he's not a knight, so it's Lord. But anyway, you have known Aegon for his whole goddamn life.
Yeah.
You knew what you were putting on that throne. You just thought you could control it.
Mm-hmm.
And whoopsie daisy.
Surprise.
The face he makes when he says Kristen has a plan and he looks at him like
you could almost hear Kelsey Grammer say, "What fresh hell is this?" Because it's already so bad, and now it's like when you realize that the kids are in the other room and they've gotten really quiet.
Oh my god!
And for a second, you were enjoying the piece, and then you suddenly go, "Wait, wait."
Yep.
Yeah.
He can't. He cannot. Otto cannot believe this is a fucking world class performance one, but also just a world class fucking meltdown of like the look on his face when he just realizes that these fucking numbnuts are just out here wrecking everything. He is like the exasperation is jumping out of the screen. And he starts to talk about like Viserys and the type of king he was and how Aegon doesn't have anything that his father had. You don't have his judiciousness. You don't have his fucking intelligence. You don't have his patience. You don't have his all of this shit. And then he says something like, and you don't have his dignity, which is ouch. Ouch.
Fuck dignity. I want revenge. Yeah, we got that.
And then he says, he looks Aegon dead in his face and says, he was right about you. Man, the way I would have went into my room and cried, which I guess Aegon actually does. So
that is basically what happens. Correct. Yeah.
I mean, that is just devastating.
Mm-hmm.
He was right about you. Yeah, man. And so then Aegon is like, you know what? Well, he made me king. Is that what you think? Ooh, chow.
Everything about this scene had me kind of gasping aloud.
Yes.
I was just like, is he just saying all of it?
Just
like,
all
we're
of
just
it.
doing this now?
We're just doing it. We're doing it. We're just putting it all out there. Yeah. And you know what? This is like when a family member dies, y'all. We've talked about this before, I think. There's a lot of different ways that different things that come up within the family unit that gets triggered by the death of whomever it was, right? And then, like we talked earlier about the way people deal with grief and all, and watching Otto sort of unravel because all his plans are unraveling. And you just start, like, there's nothing like death to make people start suddenly telling truths or trying to tell truths, like Alicent trying to confess to her father, Like, there's something about facing mortality that for a minute just makes everybody be like, fuck it, I'm just saying the shit. Dad never loved you. Dad had an affair. Dad had a second family, whatever the fucking tea is that comes out after the person has died, And then if there's alcohol present, there might be like a fist fight that breaks out at your ass.
Yep. Oh, God. Or if you're wasps, it's just angry staring and
oh my god,
aggressive comments.
And all you hear is ice clinking in glasses.
Oh man.
So
this scene, like, there was something so cathartic about him letting loose like this, and we also got the catharsis of Rhaenyra yelling at Daemon, and I was just really riding this wave of just like, oh my god, characters are like saying the shit that needs to be said. Which so frequently, my complaints about HBO's handling of this property is how they made people talk around an issue and not just fucking like
say the thing.
Yeah, you know, and it was just sort of, why wouldn't they just tell you? Why wouldn't she just say something? And it felt like I was getting all of my dessert at once. I was just really like, oh, thank you, finally. Dialogue is my favorite thing to read, to write, because it's all the characters, and you can decide on so much about what you believe and don't, what you think the character believes and doesn't. And it never entered my mind that he didn't believe Alicent in the way he really seems to not. Mm-hmm. And also, I didn't really appreciate that Rhaenyra was able to see who Daemon was so clearly. I kind of thought she was still fooling herself a little bit, you know? And that the rift would be like, she found out in some other way what he did and was just like, I can't believe you did that. But it's not, I can't believe you did that. It's, I am so sure you did that, that when you tell me you didn't, I am just calling bullshit straight up.
Right there in the moment too. Not later on, her talking to her friend like, I think he's lying to me. No, she said it to his face. You're fucking lying to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was just really, really satisfying. Some dialogue is really written, and not just this show, but a lot of others, where it's like people are having two totally different conversations. And what one person says and responds to, for me, I'm like, why didn't you deny the other thing that they accused you of? It just, you just like skated past that to address the much less important part. And then somebody walked in, interrupted the conversation, doesn't get finished. And they walk away from each other still believing the things. And I'm just like, come on, then what was the point of the scene then? They didn't even need to talk. And, this is the shit that I am looking for. Characters should, if you are writing a story that works and makes sense, characters should be able to have full, real conversations and still wind up doing the things they do later. Yeah. That should be character driven, not because of a stupid misunderstanding.
Yeah. It can't be a fucking Three's Company episode every time, you know, or a Frasier episode.
Here and there, but, yeah, exactly. It turns farcical. It turns into a fucking joke of itself. And that's not what we want in a show where children are being knifed in their crib. Get it right.
And when they do get it right, it's so fucking satisfying.
It is. You know? It really is.
Yeah. He tells Otto, well, you know, go ahead and hand me over that badge there. Otto cannot believe you wouldn't dare.
He says you wouldn't dare. I was like, sir, you keep being surprised by this kid and what he's willing to do. Why are you surprised?
What does Aegon say back?
He says, I do, and I have, and I find it quite stimulating.
Oh, get out of here. This fucking guy. I don't know what this guy. You guys, like you said at the beginning, like low key, slowly making his way up to be a favorite. Like,
right?
I don't know what about Aegon. I just, you can't just keep giving him these lines like that, though. Like, I'm not going to have a choice. You know, I'm going to be forced to stand, and I don't want to because again, aggressively team black. But I also, what you were saying earlier too about
that should just be a bumper sticker because that's like really good out of context as well.
Aggressively team black.
Yeah.
TM. It's mine. Don't let me see y'all with it on a t-shirt.
I'm putting it on a postcard. I'm going to do that. How's that? Yeah, that'll be what we do.
So yeah, not only does he dismiss Otto, but then he fucking names. How pissed is Larys going to be when he finds out that Cole is the fucking new hand and not him?
Oh my god,
he is going to be. I like if that gets Larys on Cole's ass and he becomes like out to get Cole. I will just live because I can't stand either one of them, and to have one after the other. Like plotting Cole's downfall, because somebody needs to be plotting Cole's downfall and nobody is on the job. So I'm hoping this puts Laris on the case, right? So we can start working on some fucking consequences and repercussions, because Kristen Cole has been wilding for years now, and it keeps getting promotions. Like, this is another fucking promotion.
Yeah.
And I think I asked you in text, like, you took an oath to the Kingsguard. Can you be hand? Is that a fucking thing?
I believe so. I think they'll just replace him on the Kingsguard.
But, like, when you take the oath, don't you swear off all kinds of shit? Wives and ladies and titles and all other responsibilities. You can't just, you can retire, I guess, from the Kingsguard. You know,
it's never really happened except for Barristan Lee,
right? Like everybody else, just like that's like a lifelong office, and I feel like there's a lot of fucking technicalities that need to be addressed.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
I had just assumed, like, basically the king can do what he wants, you know, so I didn't even question it. But as far as like precedent and whatnot, I don't know.
I guess they're just gonna do whatever they want to do. You're right, though. He is king. Like, who's going to check him? Mm-hmm. You know, Kristen Cole. Like, I guess maybe Kristen. No, I was going to say that maybe Kristen won't take the office. Maybe he says no.
Does he in that scene?
Not
any indication that
no. Otto throws the pin onto the floor at Kristen's feet, and
right.
I mean, it's not like Kristen can put it on anything. Like, he's in this fucking suit of honor. What's he going to pin it to?
It's a little magnetic strip on the
back. So, I don't even know if he picks it up. I think he might just look at it on the floor as Otto throws it to him. That was another joke I saw floating around in the wild. Somebody was talking about how Eric was able to slide into Dragonstone, and how, like, fortuitous it is that the Kingsguard all have the same uniform at this point. They don't like have their special insignia on it to designate, like, who's Rhaenyra's and who's, you know, Aegon's kingdom. So, like, that was lucky.
Sure worked out. So, okay, then let's get to the actual Eric v. Eric scene. Mysaria is leaving. She sees somebody pass her, and she's like, hold up. And it almost looks for a moment like she's not going to say anything. And then she calls out a moment. Mm-hmm. And dude stops. Now, I am trying to figure out, like, the timing of how this all worked out, because she says a moment, they stop. Clearly, like, she told somebody because of the way he goes running in later. But the person that's leading her down isn't Eric.
No,
like,
no,
it's just another dude.
Just another dude.
Okay.
Because the guards actually say when Arik shows up, they were like, "Oh, we thought you were inside," and he's like, "Oh,
right.
Some fucking shoddy soldiering guarding that's going on."
With the gaslighting too. You and Kristen, stop it.
Maybe you need to be a little bit more vigilant.
Really rude these people are. Goodness, give it a rest.
This whole sequence, y'all, was so goddamn tense. The skulking through the hallways, the moment where one brother is coming around the corner and he has to dip around the pillar. Oh, I was on the edge of my seat. I can't even front. I was on the edge of my seat this whole thing. And it, like, felt like it took forever. They really did. They really took their time with it. They drew it out, but not in a way that, like, I'm mad about. Like, in hindsight, agreed. I'm not mad about it at all. Like, it just was, it was so good. And this guy, this actor, just, there's, like, a lot of, like, close-ups of his face while he's, like, you know, like, am I really doing this? Can I really do this? Like, she's not his queen, but he's been sent to murder somebody that is not threatening. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is just not this isn't what he signed up for. This is a real serious you know, like, well, you know, it's funny, like, you can talk about consent and bullying and power dynamics outside of a sexual context, right? Mm-hmm. Cole has used his power over this man to make him do something that goes against really everything that he believes, everything he thought he stood for. Because in his mind, like, he's done the right thing. He has stayed loyal to the rightful king, the king that is on the throne. It's not for him to decide whether it's rightful or not, even, right? Mm-hmm, it's just about who is the king, and that's what he's sworn to protect. And then here comes his boss making him do some shit that he really can't say no to.
Yeah.
You know, Kristen is now Rhaenyra, you know, forcing someone to do, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, yeah. It's just, it's so fucked up. It's so fucked up.
Yeah, this, the way that they set up with just watching Rhaenyra get ready to take a rest, and she has like a handmaid who is very concerned about her because apparently she has not been sleeping, and it's just sort of everybody's like whispering like, can we just get her to fucking, you know, catch some Z's here because it's wearing on her. And when Arik comes in, it's not immediately apparent that he's not the guy.
Right.
She sits up and is just sort of like, hey, what's going on? And there's a sort of sense of like, he's walking in here because something else terrible has happened,
he's coming to let her know there's news. She's like, Eric, you know, like, what's going on? And then he pulls out the sword, and she's like, oh shit, still like really confused, right? Because she's not thinking about the twin back at King's Landing. Like, why would she? So for like a moment, there's like, what is Eric doing? Like, why would Eric do this? And then Eric comes bursting into the door, and it becomes clear to everybody like what is happening. And by clear to everybody, I mean we were all confused. I was so fucking dizzy.
It does get hard to follow. Like the sword fight as well. I really appreciate that there's a moment where you're like not sure if the guy we want to have won or not.
Yep.
And it just the whole feel of it. And I am assuming that the guy we wanted to win did win, and that when he kills himself, it's out of feeling like he failed and he just had to kill his twin and he can't live with it. Right. But it could also very well be that it's the other guy because he was just sent to do this thing and he felt like it was wrong, and now he feels even wronger.
Right. It really, right? Like, I know some people might be like, no, it was clearly Eric that won because, you know, but like, the whole time they were fighting, I thought like after the fight was over and we don't know who won, I was like, this guy could just pretend to be Eric for like 20 seconds. Yeah. And no one's going to know, and he can get close enough to her and kill her. Like he could wait for 2 weeks and pretend to be Eric and no one would know. And then just surprise her and kill her. Like, no one is going to know, you know, who is who. And it was just like, yeah. And I really love the idea that it's possible. Like, it's probably not probable, but it's possible that, like you said, it is Arik. I feel like I'm butchering that.
I don't feel like there's a good way to say it. So right.
You know, and then, you know, kills himself because of what he almost did, which was committing the crime of killing, you know, the princess. But then also the much deeper horror of having just murdered your own brother.
Yeah.
It was so good though, you guys. It was so good.
And also when he like locks the door, I wasn't getting what door that was, but eventually you see her being like, one of her other guards comes into the room and is like, get behind me. And she goes to the door that he's clearly intending her. And then it doesn't open. And it's just like this nightmare sort of moment.
Yeah, that's the guard that he had relieved from duty. The guard that's supposed to be on watch, and he comes.
Yeah, because he doesn't have his armor on or anything.
It's
he was undressed.
He was almost in his jammies. Yeah, but that was like that whole sequence was so well done. The fight scene was really, really good. I don't really usually get like off too much, on the fight scenes all the time. But I just, with the added context of what's going on, they're brothers and they're twins, and it just really, really worked very well. I thought it was great. And I was genuinely bummed out that that Eric either was killed or killed himself, depending on which theory you want to go with. I just hated to see him go. I hated to see him go.
Yeah, agree. This, although there's, on the other hand, me feeling like I have really gotten enough of people living with horrible guilt already, so maybe I don't need to watch more of that. Maybe that's
just saved us all the trouble.
Yeah,
So then we have Joe and Alicent having their chat about him being dismissed and how Aegon is out of control, and she's trying to be like, no, he's still, I think she calls him malleable. All is not lost, and he's like, I can't stay here. I fucking booted off the council. Like, I'm just gonna like hang around, like, to watch these fucking idiots ruin everything that I worked so hard for. Nah, I'm going home. And then drops and you have a son there.
This is so funny to me. Like, it's not that they have never mentioned him, because he gets like a single name drop early in the first season, I think. But it really is like, who? Oh, I really wonder, because, we're aware that this name drop is on its way because it's been mentioned in the group from Spoiled People. But I wonder if there are people out there like watching going, she has another son. Do we know that? Who is that? Because it really feels like it comes out of absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people commenting about like, wait, who's there? Who's that? Like, where'd that son come from? She only has like the 3 kids.
Surprise.
Yeah. I saw somebody ask, like, is that a kid that she had with Cole? I was just like,
oh,
that is wild.
Misunderstanding it to that
degree,
but
I was just like, oh, wow.
Yikes. Yeah, I think in the original story, that son is pretty young, and I'm thinking they may age him up for the show to make more sense that he hasn't really been in touch with his mother, because otherwise it's sort of like he was young enough that we should have been talking about him.
Otto says that he may be able to help us, so that suggests that he's of age to be able to be useful. So, and then she tells him, don't go to Old Town, go to Highgarden, because the Tyrells need to be shored up. Some of their bannermen are starting to like waver, and I love the mention of the Tyrells. I love that their bannermen are wavering, because that just seems like some Tyrell shit to do. From everything that I've been exposed to so far, that is a family, that is a house that is like, who's in charge? I want to be on the side of the people who are most likely to win. They're like just a step beneath the Lannisters when it comes to like aligning themselves with the winning team just in time. So,
or the phrase.
Oh my God, the fucking phrase.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't been mentioned in this yet, have they? A lot of other family names.
I feel like they were when Rhaenyra was being courted.
That's what I'm trying to remember. Like, that's where we got a lot of like other names that we knew from the books, and I can't remember whether or not a phrase showed up. Freys are. I'm trying to remember. It's not that they're a small house because they got 80 million fucking kids, but they're a lesser house.
Yeah, they got made into lords more recently. And I think by more recently, we mean like the last 600 years instead of them having been around 1,000 years. Because so it's the sort of thing that like only rich people care about this because they've been lords long enough.
Like the phrase weren't the phrase like a sub house to the Tullys, or were they a house of equal standing as the Tullys?
Do not remember.
Okay.
I believe that they are sub, or at least see themselves as being seen as sub.
Right. Because I feel like
really
there was a lot of
to the same thing.
A lot of the old man Frey, whatever his name was, Walder Frey, I think. talking about like how Lord Tully like looked down on us and blah 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 blah. But I can't remember, like you said, how much of that was just his own fucking self, like his own, what do you call it?
Grievance.
Yeah, petty grievance, his own like insecurity. Like everybody's always making fun of me. Well, it's because you're ridiculous, sir. You are ridiculous. That's why everybody's always making fun of you. But and then Otto is like assuring her that this is a rough patch, but we're gonna win. Don't worry. I still believe in our cause. We're gonna be okay. And she gets very emotional and she says, I've sinned, Father, I've sinned, something like that. Maybe not Father, I've sinned, because that's very specific, right? She's not like, like it's the beginning of like a different confession. She just says, I have sinned. And he says, I do not wish to hear of it. And that's that.
I feel like I do not wish to hear of it as a reaction meme is going to get a lot of use. Absolutely.
Otto is extraordinarily memeable.
He is.
He just really is. His like a lot of his facial expressions and gestures and his lines. He's very, very memeable. And I will be using it as soon as someone creates that meme. As soon as it's available for use, look for me to be using it.
I'll tell you right now that I have it up scheduled to post on the Facebook page already. Him saying, I do not wish to hear it. And I captioned it, anytime Kristen Cole speaks. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, fuck that guy indeed. So, yeah, he doesn't want to hear any of her fucking confession, and that's the end of that conversation. And she is stalking towards her son, and she finds Aegon just sobbing.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
She stands there for a second, and it's like, I think he had to have seen her, but he makes no move to wave her over. She makes no move to go to him.
I'm not sure. I agree that he saw her. I don't think he saw her. You don't think so? No, I don't think he saw her. I think he is really having a moment. I don't know. It's a weird angle. There's like a different angle, and it looks like she would be very, very easy to see. But I took it as that he doesn't even realize she's there.
Okay.
And there's a lot.
I certainly prefer that. I don't want him to know that she just like came in and saw him crying and left.
Yeah. There's like people were, there's a part of me is like, this is just a further evidence that she doesn't know how to comfort and console her children. Mm-hmm. But then I was thinking, like, maybe it was more of like, this was a very, very private moment I'm not meant to see.
Honestly, that's how I took it on the first watch. It felt like he has been doing nothing but rage all day when he is in front of people. Mm-hmm. And the only moment that he has let himself just weep and really feel sad is when there's nobody around. Mm-hmm. And maybe if I interrupt this, it's going to rob him of that.
Yeah. Not only rob him of it, but how will he react when he realizes his moment of weakness has been witnessed? Mm-hmm, like there's like, and it really depends on what you think of him as a person. Like, it's very possible he would have welcomed it, right, and fallen into her arms and wanted to be comforted, or he could have done that other thing where you project because you're embarrassed, you're humiliated that someone caught you in a weak moment, so you then lash out at the person who caught you. And I don't know if I have an opinion on which way he would have gone, because Aegon is a tricky little bastard, Yeah,
he is a little bit unpredictable sometimes.
Do you think he would have welcomed it or been like, more angry that he was sort of caught out there?
Have at first insisted that he doesn't need her to comfort him. And if she had persisted in doing it, he would have eventually just like fallen into her arms and cried.
Oh, I
think
love
he
that.
would have made a show of it initially. And when he realized that she was also grieving, it would be like he could finally, chill for a second and just really. But
I wish she would have. I wish she would have gone in. My personal. I wish she. I mean, I wish she would have taken the risk. Because you want. It's so complicated because she's his mother, but he is her king. It's a dynamic that I can't like even try to imagine for myself because it just doesn't exist in the real world. For me anyway. But I would have liked to have seen her motherly instinct say kick in, but maybe that's an unfair expectation. To expect a mother to always instinctively know how to do those things. We don't expect fathers to do that sort of thing,
It's true.
So maybe I need to think about that a little bit more about kind of like my sort of own ideas of
inherent biases.
But she opts to not let him know that she's there, and she leaves and heads back to her quarters. And this motherfucker just sitting on her bed.
I could not believe the gall.
Just sitting on her bed. In his underclothes. In his small clothes. What do they call them? Is it small clothes?
Small clothes, yeah. You got it.
And
this was really like, for a moment, I was just like, what is he fucking doing? Like, I thought she was going to lose her shit on him. And she only kind of does in a very, we both know that you have to get this out of your system kind of way. You know?
Yeah. He's there and he's letting her abuse him for a few beats there. No pun intended. And she smacks him and starts pushing him. And he lets her have it, let her get it out a little bit. And then he just grabs her hand and turns her around. And then next thing you know, we're fucking.
Yep.
And that is how the episode ends.
I really wonder what she is going to think of this Eric plan. And if it's going to change the way that, because it's feeling right now like she's clinging to Kristen because he's the only other person who understands her guilt and who she can like fully share this with. But is it going to change for her when she finds out that he orchestrated this whole other plan without even like telling anybody about it? The king knows and he's glad about it. Maybe that's all that's going to really matter.
I think the other reason why she's clinging to Cole, not just the sexual relationship or the sort of shared shame, shared secret thing, is that he's one of the only people that still kind of listens to Allison. It like takes her orders, even though he's more like, we've seen him plotting with both Eamon, and I guess it was the first episode where they're like, in his parlor and they're talking about strategy and shit. And then we have him conspiring to come up with this plan to send the twin in and then, going to the king directly. Like Cole was supposed to be like her, like hers.
Right.
And now he's not just hers, even though I'm not sure how aware of that. And she doesn't seem to be aware of it just yet, to your point about when she finds out. Like, how does that change? And I think that's going to change the dynamic a lot when she begins to realize that Cole is not just her keeper of secrets and her like little, like she was the boss of him, and now he's got new bosses, got a new boss now. And I'm curious how that, like, she might understand that intellectually when her son became king, but I don't think she really like internalized what that would mean. And when she gets evidence that, oh, he's just out here doing his own thing and not even involving me, I feel like that's going to be a real bruise to her her ego, and also to her sort of like, she's going to play it. Like, I thought I could trust you, you know, and you're going behind my back and making plans and, you know, I don't know exactly, but I don't think she's going to care for it one bit.
Well, ditto. All right. Let's see what we're clocking in at here. 2 hours and 48 minutes.
Oh my God, you guys. Nobody wants to listen to a 2 hour, 48-minute podcast.
Apparently they do.
I apologize. We had like very few tangents either. There was like hardly any tangents. There was just a lot of jibber jabber. But it was jibber jabber show related. So, you know, that's kind of that's kind of the whole point, right?
I feel vaguely insulted. How dare you?
Things I want to mention that weren't really worth like taking up time, but before we wrap up, so people don't, you know, Daemon leaving Dragonstone on his dragon. Mm-hmm. That shot was cool as fuck.
Yeah.
And watching the episode, there's a dragon at Driftmark that the brother with the long hair sees when he's digging for crabs. And while I was watching it, I was like, who the fuck is that? Whose dragon is that? Because I'm a big dummy. That's fucking Rhaenyra's dragon. That's just...
Because she was sent over to watch King's Landing and see what they do, right?
No, his riderless dragon. Rhaenyra, who the
Rhaenyra.
Right.
What's the daughter's name?
Baela. The daughter is Baela, and and then the that's the daughter. But the brother who was married to Rhaenyra, his dragon is still out and about. I forget what it was called, like Sea Fire or Sea
Smoke, I think.
Sea Smoke. Yeah, I think you're right. So, but yeah, I felt like a goober because I was like so stressed when I watched Sunday night, like, where did that dragon come from? And then today I was like, girl, come on now.
Listen, there's a lot going on. It's totally fine. I would not blame anybody who had just straight up forgotten about him and his whole deal. I've forgotten so much, you know. And I don't mean just about the show, guys.
All right.
I feel like there was one other small thing that I wanted to mention, but now I can't recall what it is.
Oh no!
I'm going to remember as soon as we log off. Oh well, maybe I'll try and remember it for next time. But thank you guys so much for listening. We really appreciate you. If you find yourself looking forward to our episodes, maybe you want to check out supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/unspoiled. You can support us for free and just be there on the feed whenever we make an announcement about things. Sometimes episodes will be going up late or we'll have to skip one, and I always post there because it's where everybody can see it. You can also support us with money, which is also extremely welcome. And the overall interaction, I'm moving from Facebook to Patreon for most of it, and my Facebook page, which had been taken down for reasons unknown to me, I have restored. Well, not restored. That makes it sound like it's the same page. I'm having to build it from the ground up, and I have 100 followers right now, I think. I have 3,500. It's very sad. But yeah, I would love it if you guys would come follow me. And I'm shitposting a lot of Hot D memes. If you've got any good memes that you think are worthy of the main feed, let me know. And I think that's about everything. Yeah, there's a nice collection in the patron group of memes, so you can drop them in there. And if it passes mustard, Natasha will just let you know, going on the main page. Yep. I need to just have a graphic that I can post that isn't my just writing that same sentence over and over again. But I found some really fun ones last night. I think I was on Reddit and I found a few because it's very active very quickly over there for certain things. So, yeah. Also, I used my first app that would Photoshop somebody's face off and you can Photoshop a different face onto it. I've always been so impressed when people can figure out how to do that. And it turns out it's really easy, but you can app. So I am very excited to have gotten to this side of the meme making. I'm starting to do some OC content. It's really a whole new era for me, guys.
Mm-hmm.
So join me. All right. Thank you all again. We love you very much. Until next time, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.